money in the bank. Hit you with the. Hit you with the bank. Hit you with the. Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the. Hit you with the 808. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang, 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 bang. I'm a boss and you know that I'm finna shine. Got the money in the bank. Got the money in the bank. Got the money in the bank. Bank, 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 bank. Got the money in the bank.
Hit you with the 808.
Hit you with the. Hit you with the bank. Hit you with the. Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the. Hit you with the 808. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang, bang, bang,
what you got. Down, up, back, back, up, got. Down, up, back, back, got. Down, up, back, back, up, got. Down, up, back, back, got. Down, up, back, back, up, got. Down, up, back, back, got. Down, up, back, back, up, got. Ain't no reason to back down, so step it up. Got. Down, up, back, back, up, got. Down, up, back, back, got. Down, up, back, back, up, got. Down, up, back, back, got. Down, up, back, back, up, got. Down, up, back, back.
just gonna go down in time. This is an actual makes it
happen. Great stop there. Oh, dicey. Oh my God, J-Mo, the champion of this one. Oh, Asano! He gets the triple off the rocket as the full.
Well, we've made it. Day 4 is here. Finals time for VCT Closed Qualifier number 1 presented by Nerd Street Gamers. My name is Bach. Joining me on the show is Van Silly. I'm excited to jump into things, Alex. We've watched these teams fight for their opportunity to get here, and one of them is a bit of a surprise. Immortals actually make it to this point with like a brand new roster that we haven't seen play. Sure, the core was still the same, but they changed out 2 pieces, and most importantly, their in-game leader. Pretty wild.
For sure. Changing 2 pieces and still making it to the grand finals of the Challenger stage is a big feat for Immortals. You've already qualified. Now it's just time to get the bonus. Make sure you get the first place, get that 20K, secure the bag, and prove yourself to be even top 3 in North America. I mean, we've had 5 days of open qualifiers, 4 days of these close qualifiers events, and now it's down to Sentinels and Immortals. Immortals is like one thing, but the other one is not too much of a surprise too. They're the ones that are most resilient through everything they've been facing in terms of criticism for Sentinels, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, we'll be talking about those teams in just a bit. You heard Alex talking about how many days we've seen. This is just the tip of the iceberg. To talk about the format, how these teams are going to make it into the Masters events, and where they're going to go from there, we've got a nice little video voiced by Rivington. Let's take a look.
Welcome to the Valorant Champions Tour, a year-long tournament circuit featuring the best players and teams from all over the world, culminating in a global championship event, Valorant Champions. Each stage begins with challengers, where teams compete in regional tournaments for a place at Masters. Teams who compete in Masters events will earn points that help them qualify for Champions. And Champions is where the best teams from around the world compete on a global stage, where the art of greatness is on full display. And one team will be crowned 2021 Valorant Champions.
Dude, I am just so excited about the possibility of seeing all of these teams finally meet up on LAN at a date to be determined later. The possibility of watching North America compete against Europe, and also the other regions that we don't see a lot of, looking at like Southeast Asia, the Korean region, Japan, also some of the oceanic teams. Like, there's just so much going on around the world in Valorant. Yeah, and we don't really get to see a whole lot of it. So to get to see that all come together is so incredibly exciting.
No, definitely. And now when you're looking at even 2021, getting even into the master stage, there's so many upsets going on in their own regions too. So to finally figure out who's going to be the one qualifying in Masters 1, Masters 2, Masters 3 to get the champion, it could be whole different teams going into this year.
Well, let's talk more about this event specifically. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's take a look at the format so you can understand how we've gotten to this point and what to expect as well in general. Speaking of this whole VCT series that's coming up, 3 challenger weekends, open qualifiers, closed qualifiers, single elimination format. That's specifically referencing the open quals, as it's a 128 team bracket, 128 teams funneled all down to figure out who's going to be playing off here, and it's single elimination. Then it comes into this event, which is a 4-day double elimination bracket. And that's actually the interesting thing. We talked about Immortals and we talked about Sentinels facing off in the grand finals. People would hear that and they'd think Sentinels came in from the upper bracket, but no, they were actually knocked down into the lower bracket. And who did that happen? It was Immortals. They lost to Immortals and got knocked down into that lower bracket to begin with, and they had to fight their way through the gauntlet. We'll take a look at the bracket so you can see how things shaped up. I mean, looking at the way that Immortals played, I mean, it's impressive stuff, and I apologize. I did misspeak. It was actually LG that knocked them down. I forgot that was that whole matchup there with Sentinels.
But it's still pretty close because they did lose to Immortals going into the upper open qualifiers.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, so for Sentinels themselves, it's nothing but revenges. They got it yesterday versus LG. They're looking to get it today versus Immortals, and they just want to continue to prove that they are the number 1 team in North America in terms of Valorant gameplay. But it's going to be a best out of 5. It's 1 map in hand for Immortals, so it's not going to be that easy either. So going into this best out of 5, when you're looking at these rosters, again, we talked about it for the other days. It's been nothing but all-star names for Sentinels, a little bit of the unknown in the beginning for the Immortals, but overall, these two teams clashing together, it's Sentinels having rivalries with everybody. We're talking about Envy, we're talking about LG. This is a possibility of another one here with Immortals.
I mean, the LG one is one that's really surprising. It started with the NRG Winter Championships as LG picked up a big win in the Grand Finals there in a best-of-5 over Sentinels. And then they knocked them down again here in the bracket play. But then Sentinels got their revenge. Looking at the roster on the left side there for Immortals, you've got JC Stanley Gangsta and shot up the core of the roster. But the changed pieces, Nature and Chemicals coming into the mix. And again, we talked about it yesterday. Spotted out from ranked play. So all you people out there who are like, it's just matchmaking, bro, it doesn't really matter. Well, maybe you should start taking it a little bit more seriously as opportunities are clearly there. We'll take a look at some highlights as well, looking at how these two teams got to this point. Speaking of Nature, he locked down Showers so incredibly well against LG in this first map.
JC Stani is another one of those two that even he tweeted out after that matchup versus LG, he's like, after all of this time that I've been playing with the Phantom, I think I'm now convinced to play with the Vandal. And it definitely showed the amount of firepower that he had on the defender side. But when he was quiet, it was two other players that really picked it up on the attacker side. And I'm talking about Sean Up and your boy Dre here. The way that Sean Up plays on the attacker side as a duelist, for me, it's very similar to Thief. The way that he could actually engage and get away with these aggressive pushes and peeks. It's that meme. Shut up, go find some kills and go get it. And it works. And it pays off for Immortals here and dividends when they're trying to get the site controls. So Immortals looking very good. Are they going to be able to upset Sentinels in this series? I think there's still a possibility, again, because they have a map in hand and this best out of 3. They have the choice to ban the first map in this series versus Sentinels. So everything is looking into their favor, where it's not necessarily that upsetting story anymore. It's just now it's for Sentinels to continue to prove and shut everybody up to say, look, they're not falling off. They don't need a coach. They have what it takes to just continue to be on the top of the NA scene for Valorant.
That final, oh my god, the LG Immortal game.
Yes.
Down to 12-11, the 1-1, both players low on ammo, takes the zip line, can't quite get the kill. After that first map in that series, we thought it was going to be a lot easier for INT, but LG fought back and almost took it to overtime in map number 3. There's a very real scenario where this is LG facing off against Sentinels in the finals and not Immortals, as they would have had to face them in the lower bracket had that gone to overtime and things went the other direction. Now, looking at Sentinels, you're going to see a lot of clips coming in from their lower bracket gauntlet run. But they looked pretty strong in a lot of those matches, and again, this was the one that really meant the most, I think, to them, just to prove that, you know, while LG's had their number, they're still just as good as they always were as they picked up the big series win to get to the grand finals.
This highlight right here is one of the perfect examples too. When people are saying, hey, Zoms is always bottom fragging, he's not doing well, his stats are maybe don't really show the assists, but the amount of paranoias that he's able to come out with that is in full effect for the team to be able to capitalize on rounds for Sentinels has been superb for this team. We talk a lot about Sick. Yeah, he's able to play like 5-6 agents or 5 agents every single map, a different agent every single map, and still looks very good. Well, now you look at Sinatra that's turning up as well in the fragging department. You also have Shazam that's just opping like a king, and Dapper this time too. The way that he's actually lurking and clutching has been playing very well going into the lower brackets yesterday versus LG. So it's been good. Now in this best out of 5 though, and the map picks and bans, this is a surprise for me though, Bach. We actually have Haven being banned. For me, it was a toss-up between Split and Haven. But for Immortals, they've banned Split a lot. I think this is versus Genji versus Sentinels at the same time. And knowing, I guess it makes sense now that Sentinels have been undefeated pretty much in Haven in this tournament, they want to get that map out of the way.
Yeah, we were talking about it before we came into the show. The last time that Sentinels lost on Haven was against Genji in the JBL Quantum Cup in December. They lost to 100 Thieves as well during the first strike qualifiers. They hadn't lost any other Haven matches going all the way back to August of last year. That's incredibly impressive. Now, their split win rate is also really high, so it's not exactly an easy 50-50. I'd say, yeah, definitely get rid of Haven. But at the same point in time, Immortals never plays split. So it's like, okay, do we really want to try our luck against them on Haven, knowing that this is one of their better maps?
Yeah.
Or do we hope that we're able to fire back on Split and we'll just figure out whatever problems we have with that map as we go? I don't know. It's a really interesting dynamic, and it's a difficult position to be in for a team that's a little bit younger, still kind of getting accustomed to the way that their setups are going to work. We'll see if they're able to best Sentinels here. It would be an incredible start to the series if they could somehow pick up a win here, because I do favor Sentinels very heavily on this map.
Me too. Honestly, when you're looking at this best out of 5 now, Mark, it does make sense that Sentinels should be able to take this map. And for Immortals, it's kind of like that story with LG. It's like, okay, let's try to get one map out of the way. It's or we lose Split or we lose Haven. The other ones are in our favor when you're looking at the other 3 maps that are remaining. But I'm still surprised, though, that Immortals decided to pick Bind over, like, Ascent just to, like, try to guarantee a win under their belt. The only loss that they got on Ascent was versus LG themselves yesterday for Immortals. So it's going to be a fun one. Let's focus on Split now. Maybe there's a chance that they, have what it takes to study how Sentinels are playing this map and fight back against them. Where it has been resulting to amount to positive notes here for LG the other time when they played versus Sentinels is the amount of trades that they're able to get with players like Thief going in for the retakes. If they could do similar things with Shot Up and Chemicals, for example, for the retakes, it could still be a very good map for them.
I mean, when you look at the success rate, looking at the next map coming in, you can understand that pick. We're talking about Bind. We're talking about the whole series. Yeah, sure, this is map 1, it's Split. I understand, but it's hard not to look at the big picture at the same point in time. So we are going to kick things off here. Nature goes to Killjoy, JC Stani on Omen, Shot Up playing as Reyna, Chemicals not playing as Jet here, playing as Raze. And then they've got a Sage in the mix as well. We'll see Sage on both sides, but we will not see that Reyna play. We'll see the Jet instead. And obviously, Shazam feeling comfortable in that position. They'll be grabbing Orb Control and B main to kick things off. You can see a ton of utility laid down on B by Nature. There's a turret in the corner as well as some nano swarms down on the site to prevent that push. Oh, that nade was perfect. It was right in the belly of Shazam, but Shazam jumps up and with the frenzy able to finish off Chemicals. And due to the fact that they have a Sage, there's a heal that can come through and can patch up that player. So now it really all lands on Nature's shoulders. There's a dark cover coming in from Spawn to try and help slow things down, but Nature's got to go big here.
That nano swarm is going to come out as soon as the alarm bot gets spotted, too, as it rings the alarm for a couple of players moving forward. Nature's playing the backside. Now a big paranoia as Nature gets the first kill onto Sinatra. So they even things up on a 4-4, but he's stuck in the back. He still manages to get a second one before he eventually gets dropped by Sick. But Gangsta's already rotated. It's a 2 versus 1. Immortals on the disadvantage as Dapper lands the last kill. And that's, Mark, 9 frenzies out of 10 in this round. There was only Chemicals that didn't have a frenzy because he wanted to invest into a boom bot to make sure and scout down towards that mid side. It worked out to slow down Sentinels, maybe slow creep up towards mid side, but in the end, when the explosion comes into the site at B, the frenzies just ring true.
It's important to note that this is the only map you will see Gangsta play a role other than Sova. Gangsta going to Sage here, it's not something we typically see, as he's probably one of the more static role players on that roster outside of JC Stani, who always plays Omen. In fact, I don't remember the last time that JC Stani didn't play Omen. It's been a long time since looking at even that old roster, the original roster with Dicey and Asuna.
Here.
So Mortals lose the pistol. Sentinels gets off to a great start. Recent changes, it's still a little early on to determine whether or not those changes have really helped balance out the map more, or if we're still going to see a heavy defensive side. We'll have to see how the game's slowly developed. Shazam in mid spots, Shot Up coming up top ropes. And now they've got to deal with Nature, who's on the ramp. It really wasn't difficult to deal with him at all. There was players coming in on both sides as well. Shazam has a potential lineup on players coming through from spawn as JC Stani here's the reload. Can't get there in time with the classics. Immortals is going into this with a full save. Sentinels should easily close out the remainder of the players for IMT, and they'll get that spike plant as well to guarantee that things are going to be nice and simple for them.
Definitely. You have nothing but classics into this round. You want to make sure you have enough firepower going into the next. Leaving even Sentinels on a flawless in this round means that they're probably going to keep their submachine rifles too, which technically gives them the advantage. But what I do like for Sentinels from the way they've been playing this map is really combining Sinatra and Sick on that B-side control. very often you have an early slow orb towards B main. Sometimes it gets matched up with paint shells being thrown by Sinatra too, just to push the defense back from Gangstar on B. Then, of course, it's the old signature of Dapper trying to run down that utility on the A side ramp. It pays off in their side, take that mid control, and eventually split on A or B, depending where the pick is. And Gangstar is trying to switch things up. He puts a wall, a self boost, does a bit of damage. He eats some himself. And he manages to fall back with a heal, but that's a big wall already out of the way.
Yeah, that's a lot of utility spent early on by their Sage. There was slow orb coming down the wall. The heal is used as well. All that for an attempted early advantage that they ultimately get, but not because of their own work. It's because of an aggressive push that comes through. Shazam equalizes the score as a nade lands in his flat. He has to use the tailwind to get away, but Chemicals is there with the lineup. JC Stanny working their way back through mid, sitting at the bottom of ropes right now. There's one currently on the other side. It's Dapper, who's currently just hanging out, sitting at the top of ropes. Again, because Sentinels won that last round so easily, a flawless victory, this is a bonus round. So Immortals needs to survive with a lot of players remaining to get that cash built up. I like the utility currently utilized by Killjoy, sitting at the bottom of ropes, trying to make things a little bit more difficult. Nature is staying mobile. We saw Killjoy playing towards B early on, now playing towards ropes. That's been the success story for a lot of players who play as Killjoy on the map. As I say that, though, Chemicals is taken out. Rez is going to come through very early on, mind you. That's a third-round Rez coming out from Sick. So illustrating orb control currently for Sentinels, who have reduced it down to 1. The only player left alive is Nature across the map. Again, we talked about Killjoy being mobile. Unfortunately, in this instance, doesn't really help them out as they did decide to go back to that B site. The defense just wasn't strong enough.
Yeah, you could still count in onto Nature to be able to try to clutch this one here, though. He's on a 3 versus 1. Now that he got spotted by the camera, could be very early that he's going to decide to maybe save his rifle. Unless he gets a kill in the next 5 seconds, they know exactly where he's at. There's a lot of wall bang going through. He hears an updraft, thinking that maybe Shazam made it up towards that rafter. But you see Shazam through this X-ray. He goes towards that ground, comes back towards the staircase, and is looking to flank, but Chemicals already booked it back and is saving his rifle. This comes into a free upgrade for Shazam towards the B heavens. But it was a good early start for Immortals. Chemicals and their Sage right now, Gangsta, is kind of like a mirror match towards this B main. They have soul orbs, they have the walls, they have paint shells to counter back, and he's able to support as well with the crossfire to get the first few kills. And still being able to play towards that B heaven, he still has the boombot, as I mentioned before, they can throw towards that mid side to get more information here. But as they slowly creep up here for Sentinels, and there's less information now in the hands of Immortals because they gave up that space on mid, it was easier for Sentinels to creep up. And especially now that you already had an early res come out from Sick, it shows how good he's been in the first few rounds.
Do start to get a little bit worried because, again, the roll of the dice was Haven or Split. Which one do we want to play less?
Yeah.
Sentinels being strong on both maps, but really strong on Haven, forced Immortals into a position where they're either going to ban the map they never play or ban the map their opponent plays the most. And ultimately, they went in the other direction. It's another buy round coming in for IMT, though. Actually, excuse me, it's a force coming in from IMT. The buy round from Sentinels. As they laid down an early wall yet again. Sick broke through that pretty quickly. Sinatra is going to take out Gangsta, who is up in heaven. They're shot up with the SMGs, at least proving there's some value to the submachine guns. Zamza's going to drop some smokes on the site as the team is already making it out there. They've got full site control at this point, but there's weapons to be scooped up in mid. They're going to try and go for this retake. And the numbers are actually decent for them, given that you've still got Dapper on this very long lurk through mid.
Good position, though, from Sentinels. Already along the line of Pillar, backside, and B main. Dapper is on that lurk again, and he manages to capitalize with a kill onto Nature, which means now the defense numbers dwindles down on this retake, and it's just perfect positioning now. They didn't expect that Sinatra was going to be on the top of that billboard, and now shot up. The only kill that he got chimes in with the second one with the Vandal that he picked up, but that's going to end it there. Pretty decent. Immortals at that point had 4 players stacked up on mid just to try to surprise the slow creep that Sentinels been doing. But as Sentinels seems to be aware of that, as they had an open side towards B, just fall back, take the site, very easy plant, pulse plant situation too. So back to a full gun round for these two teams. But this time we have an op that comes in for Chemicals.
One of the things we have to look at throughout the series is the matchup between Chemicals and Shazam. Shazam, much more a dedicated opper than, say, Chemicals, who will often go favor the rifle a little bit. And that, as I say that, Shazam does have a rifle in hand. Shazam also has the ult available currently. The Bladestorm Chemicals is dropped very early in the round. That op not really worth the value invested. Nice quick shot from Shot Up, but Shazam is there with an immediate trade. And again, early blood being shed here. And it's in favor of Sentinels, who have only lost one player. Dapper, who's been on this lurk over on the A site, often coming up late if they go towards B through mid. And it seems like this time they're going to go back towards Dapper. They're going to have to run into all of this utility laid out from Nature. They know the turret's here. They could use a smoke potentially to force that out of position, but never mind. Dapper just comes in with a quick kill onto Nature, and that all eliminated. The threat is gone. The remaining two are spotted out by a Neural Theft, and the round is over. Gangsta should be saving this op back in spawn. You can see JC Senny setting up at the backside of Sewers in mid. They're just trying to hang on to these guns as desperately as they can.
Yeah, and you see how it's aggressive at the beginning just to try to figure out if Sentinels are going to be on a hunt and try to take him down. But after they see that it's a little bit quiet, try to team up on that buddy system. And this is something or a concept that we talk about a lot when we're first casting this game, very similar to other tactical shooters, is the buddy system that Sentinels have. 2 players trying to work towards B main, 2 players towards mid, and then you have Dapper just lurking on the A side. Once you take control of these trades that you saw were immediate towards the mid side, and they also got a do-or-die position from Chemicals up on towards B site, then you fall back as a team, you continue as a group, and you continue to play for these trades. Sentinels are very good for this type of positioning to just allow numbers advantage when they come into sites. Now as the round ends though, we're able to save a couple of weapons. They lost 4 players for Sentinels in the process, but with winning 5 rounds in a row, you're okay with losing all of that too. You just wanted to make it more expensive for Immortals on that previous round.
Yeah, Dapper was on max money as well, so a weapon drop can go over to one of his teammates.
Yeah.
The money is definitely solid for some, but not so great for others. Sinatra's down to 200, 1900 for Shazam after the op purchase. Might actually decide to just go with the ult here. You can see potentially making that decision, but decides to go back to the buy for the op. Actually, that was a drop. So that drop came over from Dapper. They realized, hey, I'm still going to have a ton of money. Might as well let me spend this. And again, we see this opening kill towards B. We have seen that happen almost every single round. I like the dismiss there to get away from the boom bot, so Shot Up can at least get some revenge for his teammate, as Sinatra has dialed in that early kill on B against Gangsta almost every round, it feels like.
Yeah, even how that started on how they were able to retaliate for Immortals. Sick always does that. When he puts that wall up towards that cross, he's always self-boosting at the same time, so he could maybe wide swing onto Heavens. Nice shot by Shazam to pick out Shot Up, but you saw how they tried to hold it back for Immortals. They didn't really have a fight back from B Heaven. They actually fought back from default with 2 players peeking out in that area to make it an early advantage at the beginning, but after that, losing this player early for Shot Up towards the B Heavens, the control is back at the Sentinels, where they're looking to split into this A side, especially after that pick from Zoms.
Zoms is going to drop into the ropes, has to worry about the alarm bot that's there. That triggers the nano swarm as well. It does look like we're going to see them move towards A in just a moment, or again, it's just Nature here
left.
playing solo. And with them moving in fast and just having an SMG, not really much can be done. The dive into the smoke just in case there's a turret on site, but there isn't. You can see them getting full site control, and Nature can't really do much about this. Now, Nature does have their ult, the lockdown, but I don't think this is the occasion to use it necessarily. You don't have the weaponry to fight. You're at a numbers disadvantage. I think it makes more sense to just try and take a few guns away with that SMG and keep that op in play.
Correct.
Maybe save it for a later round.
Yeah, with a SMG and an op trying to take the site back on a 4 versus 2, even with a lockdown, you make sure that you have to be sure that you're going to be able to land your shots. And so far, with as I mentioned before, Chemicals, he was on top of the billboards 2 rounds ago, where he was trying to get this pick on the early aggression from Sinatra, and Sick, as they always do towards his garage on B main. He missed that shot, he got punished. So I think versus his on this 4 versus 2, he doesn't really want to risk that, at least to try to get a couple of frags, because as we mentioned, the economy is still very good here for the attackers of Sentinels, but they bought pretty much all the way down to almost nothing for the defenders on that previous round, which means this one here, the weapons that they save, is going to help a lot into this round to hopefully bring the first point on the scoreboard.
Shazam, 9-3 performance from the Jet All-Star for Sentinels. Dapper, though, 6-0-0 has not died nor gotten an assist. Shazam's been sitting on that ult for a while as well because just hasn't really needed it. You know, he's had the op or a rifle in hand, hasn't needed to save it for save round where the money isn't going to be good because it is 6-0 and a lot of those rounds have been one-handedly. Multiple players surviving. I think only one round really was a bad one, and all of those kills came post-plant. Like, after the round was already over, those kills came through. Now, here's an aggressive play we haven't seen from them yet. Immortals wants to take a fight inside B main. There's players waiting around the corner. Good Lear, but they did line up a couple first, and there's the res coming through. So this is one of the few times that we've seen Immortals in a control position in a round with an advantage. They're going to be moving back over towards A with the spike. A bulk of the defense is currently on B. It's going to have to be a retake unless Nature can do something about this. And you can see them slowly sneaking their way in, trying to get that spike across, but Dapper's made it all the way across site. And Nature's just playing this one passive the way that he should.
Exactly, because they had the lockdown. That's another reason why he wants to play this passive. But unfortunately, Dapper goes for the lurk through the smoke, and that cancels out the lockdown for the attempt of a retake. Shazam on the top of the A ramp, another to fall, and just like that, in the blink of an eye, it's a 3 versus 3 with the Spike Planet at the default spot. Can this be doable for a retake? Potentially here, because you have ARs coming for the retake for Immortals, and Shut Up is already on the top of Heaven, dropping to hell. Oh, as Zoms backs up into him, it's just going to be an easier retake. Now, as an open site, the last two lurking on A-ramp still. Now you force the Blade Storm out. Shazam trying to come across, and he's going to get... Oh, actually, he gets the headshot into Shut Up. Now, as they're trying to defuse, he misses the right click, and the defuse will come in favor of the Immortals to put the first point on the scoreboard. Finally, to get it done.
I actually really like that attempt from Shazam.
Yes.
If there weren't a dark cover there, maybe things work out a little bit differently. Maybe that right click connects. Still not exactly the most perfect round for IMT based on the way that it started. Things could have gone so much better for them, but it all started to fall apart off that lurk. So here's the early round where they go for that 3-player peak. They get the res as well. And Shot Up comes in and drops one. Shazam not able to connect on the right click. Looking for the shots, was unable to find it. So the round is Immortals to take. But even if they win out at this point, 6-6 is not exactly what one would call an ideal half from the defensive side of Split. It's where you needed to see them get off to a great start. And this has been anything but. There's the ult being popped, but no, the rocket doesn't come out. As he's shot down out of mid-air by Sick, who is just doing great things here for the squad. Unfortunately for Sentinels, Sick will be watching for the remainder of the round. Shazam tries to squeeze a bullet out over that wall, couldn't quite get the timing right, and Gangsta will survive for the time being.
Still very good for Immortals. You were looking for an answer on this aggression towards the B garage. A 2 versus 2 didn't work. Passive play for retake on B didn't work. Big flank from Jason Stani, by the way. But now as they push 3 players, it works out. So that's the second round in a row they do it, using 2 ultimates for 2 rounds in a row. Now they'll have a little bit less to work with as we move into the next round. But before we get into the next round, we still have a Spike Planet for Sentinels on a 1-minute advantage, where again, potential when they reset the economy, and it starts with Dapper. Headshot onto Shot Up, and Sinatra's now running in with that showstopper, looking for his opponent. Cannot, stops the lockdown, and that's a good way to pull out a utility, which means now Immortals has even less moving into the next round, with Nature now moving up on the Raptors.
Yeah, Sinatra was in a great position in hell there, and that's exactly where he sends Nature. 7-1. Sentinels may have had a brief little hiccup there in the middle. They hit a speed bump, but things have smoothed out, and yet again, the money absolutely terrible right now for IMT. So what do you do when you're in this situation? You can see JC Stanley's got enough to stinger and armor and still have some money left over for the next round for a buy. You've got Chemicals, who's on 3,600. There's a possibility there, but I have a feeling that Chemicals is going to save for an op now that Shazam's brought the op into play. I've seen a lot of people asking this in the chat as well, so I figure I might as well rectify. It is a best of 5 with a 1-map advantage for IMT since they came from the upper bracket.
Correct.
Sentinels coming in from the lower bracket, so IMT starts 1-0, hence the score at the top, despite this being the first match.
I like this.
Here's an aggressive play. I like this too.
Yeah, Satchel Charge, bait it out, try to trade with the low rifles that you have with the stack. Aggressive from Immortals down mid. but now it's still a 4 versus 4. They've given up the B side, which means Sick is now able to take advantage of it. Sinatra is there on the other side of the wall, but JC Stunning, the only weapon that was purchased with that Stinger, gets the first frag, but he's down at 8 HP. He could put a smoke story towards B main. That's going to push Sinatra back. They pick up the spike, and they still have a minute to work with. Very well done for Immortals at the beginning.
Shazam throws the op away, favoring the rifle. It's not completely out of play, but wants to have the rifle, given that it's 3-on-3, and also doesn't want to give it up and has plenty of money to buy it again. So it's the logic behind just putting that one out of play. There's going to be a heal that comes through. That's actually going to give away his position. There's an audible cue that comes out from that, but it doesn't scare JC Stunning. At least it looked like we were seeing a heal, but he's still sitting low on 8 HP. I thought for a second we got it, but maybe not. Was I wrong there? It looked like when we saw in the third-person camera a heal coming through, but maybe it was just the animation for a potential heal? I'm confused.
If you get hit by something right away, like if it's a wall banger or something, you get stopped. So,
but then even we didn't see, like, it gets stopped, but it doesn't get canceled. It just gets, like, kind of delayed. We didn't see it right there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it just already went through or what. Yeah, he's getting healed, and then he takes the peek, and then it does get canceled. Okay. Thank you for the replay there, observers in production. Confused me for a second.
And even then, the reason also I believe that Shazam threw that operator in the back of the spawn is after they got that initial picks in a fight towards mid side, and they've lost a couple of weapons. Actually, let's talk about it in a bit. We're looking to be very aggressive for Sinatra towards B garage. We already had early pressure from Gangster on B main. The op shot to get rid of the alarm bot too, so they know an op is in this round for Immortals. They know that they had a couple of oppositions too coming in on this B side, where they have 4 players actually from Immortals stacked up in that side, giving up mid completely as Nature was trying to take an off angle. But as they lose this player, they open up the A site, and that is going to be confirmed by the Neural Theft.
Ult utilized by JC Stanley to get towards elbow. Quickly taken care of by Six. Shot up is in position on the other side of screens, but there's a wall that's gone down from Sage, and he has no choice but to blast through it. Shazam in position, should be able to get a quick kill on Chemicals, and does. The Odin betrays Sinatra, but it's still a player advantage for Sentinels. The 3-on-2 with the spike planted, and again, who else would you see on the flank other than Dapper? And I don't think they have any reason to believe that this is happening. There's the first kill coming out onto Gangsta. The last player remaining is shot up on site. Empress available, has decided not to use it. It's another round for Sentinels in the books. It's just getting a little bit scary right now. Dapper currently sitting at 12-1-1. Absurd ratio, 14-6 for Shazam as well.
That's a nice pick too. Every single time that Sentinels has been working towards his B main, Immortals have been trying to look for an answer. And now that they finally put an operator in the hands of Shazam, before it was always Dapper just lurking by himself towards A main. Now they work together to take control of A site. And that confirms again, always open sites, because you're putting so many numbers for Immortals onto the B site, it doesn't pay off. Now they go back to a default, this 2-1-2, trying to pressure back versus Shazam and Dapper on the A side. Well, surprise, they're actually focusing back on the B side, where they have more numbers eventually versus this push, especially with Sinatra with the judge. First one to fall is Gangsta, jumping around for the second kill onto Chemicals, and a big dark cover doesn't allow JC Stein to get any kills, and the B side is open just like that for Sentinels.
It feels like Sentinels have really not met much resistance, especially on that B site. The close rounds we've seen have at least seemed to be catered towards A, with some damage that was dealt early in mid. It's a nice paranoia coming out from Zoms, and it's just more of the same thing.
Yeah, the 2 rounds that they got, I think, was the first round where they finally pushed 3 players inside Garage, and they had a res. And they were okay with doing that for Immortals because they had Nature with a lockdown all the way towards the A site. So player weakest site, he falls back. If they take over the A site, they lock down for a retake and play numbers, especially when they had like a 5-on-3 or a 4-on-3. And then the second round that they got was the force buy on mid side when they stacked up 4 players there. But in the end, when it comes down to these full gun rounds, they keep Immortals guessing for Sentinels, and they just take advantage of it every single time. And the weaknesses are done from these picks.
Oh, you really hate to see it. Shazam just gets vertical, and Nature just didn't stand a chance. Shazam with the updraft and the Blade Storm Unfortunate for Nature, who was trying his best to play defense on this A site. Shot up, at least able to get some revenge for his fallen comrade. Drops in with Empress active, spots out that player immediately there. Shot up, still in position, but Immortals looks like they might close it out here in the first half with a round win they desperately needed. Sinatra is all the way across the map. This time it was his turn to lurk, and it doesn't work out so well. Still, strong half for Sentinels, 9-3 up over Immortals. We're going to throw things to a very quick break. When we come back, we'll see if IMT can bring it back. Stay tuned.
God. Show me what you got. Back that up, 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 back
A first half that was wrought with problems for Immortals. They now switch to the attacking side, and things might get a little bit trickier for them as Sentinels is up 9-3 off strong performances from Shazam and Dapper. Alex, I mean, obviously they need to win the pistol to kickstart this second half, but what do you want to see Immortals do differently moving into this second half?
I think it's just focus on this one first because this is going to be do or die. You're going to have 5 frenzies for Sentinels on the defense right now, and Immortals are just sticking together to try to get these trades out. So focus on that. We'll see what happens after, but it's going to be Immortals pushing up on the A ramp. The wall's already coming up. That's going to waste a lot of bullets for the frenzies that they have too for Immortals. So Sentinels doing a good job here to just slow down that aggressive push and reset the aggressiveness that Immortals wants to bring out on this second half.
We haven't really seen a whole lot of this team on Split because this was their perma, throughout this event.
Yeah.
And this is the first we've seen of this roster. So we weren't really sure what to expect when this map came through. And we still don't really know what to expect from them on the attacking side. Maybe things will turn around, look a little bit better for them. Dapper continues in the rampage. They try to dive down into the ropes, and it is just not good at all. They've got a great setup with Dapper, Zoms, and Sinatra. Double-digit rounds right off the bat of the pistol. 16-2 for Dapper, who has been playing so incredibly well. A thorn in their side, constantly on the lurk. And now here on defense is going to feel even more comfortable as Cypher.
But even then, he gets spotted, he gets a first kill. They want to chase him down because they know he's technically on a reload. Baits them into ropes where everybody rotated from Sentinels at that point. They did such a good job for Immortals to bait out so much utility at the beginning. We're talking about smokes. We're talking about a wall. I'm even sure Sinatra threw paint shells when he rotated back from E-Heaven. So what was left for a retake for Sentinels after that if Immortals did decide to rush towards the B site? Pretty much nothing. But they were so focused on using shot up or trying to avenge the kill onto Dapper inside ropes that they just fell into a trap of 2-3 frenzies getting ready to trade off. And that is not a win you could take definitely on such close quarters. And should I say, a height opportunity for Sentinels with Immortals dropping into vents too. Height advantage.
Now here we see a force buy come in, but Immortals, they didn't do it off the back of spike placement in round 1. They didn't do it off the back of kills either, only taking down one player
You need
from
it.
the opposing side. But what can you do? Like, you gotta make something happen at this point.
Yeah. You have the satchel charges to try to come in, and that's what they're doing here, and let's see if they can trade it out.
I mean, they're going to be trying to take out Zoms, who's playing on the site. Shot Up makes quick work of them. Sick, though, with just a frenzy. Great shooting on that angle hold. Now, the spike will be planted, and it's a 4-on-4. It's a great opportunity for them, but Sinatra came in with the nade, flies into the site as well. Sinatra's going on a rampage. And just like that, they're back in the site. 3 players survive. The defense that should have been strong, they had time to set up the post plant, just completely crumbles as Sinatra goes full Superman and just flies into the site, tape flowing in the wind behind him, and takes out 3.
And that's it. We saw it off screen, but you saw it from the POV of just Sinatra flying through a heaven. And these are highlight reels that he's able to do. We've seen this before, the way he satchel charges into elbow and just sprays everybody down with SMGs, with rifles, anything that you want. He's going with flare into this site. And this is a Sentinels that we know. Just play aggressive, play in their face, which is the play style that Immortals and LG kind of have versus Sentinels too, where they actually won these victories versus the Sentinels team. So I like that they're trying to fight back with the same type of grit, and it's capitalizing for them because every single time we're seeing it. What is the answer that Immortals have for Sentinels? They are trying different things, but every single time, look at this. The first blood usually comes up in favor of Sentinels every single time.
It is important to note that when we saw what their options were, either this or Haven, we knew neither one would work out well to kick off the series for IMT. We ultimately expected Sentinels to take this first map. And I think Immortals maybe expected that a little bit too. This is their perma. They haven't played it once throughout the event. Clearly, they didn't feel great on the map. And what we've seen, it's not like they were hiding anything they didn't want somebody else to see because it's not working out so well for them. That said, they do at least have site control here. It's a 3-on-2. The opportunity is there. They managed to get the spike down, but it's come down to a 1-on-1, and Zoms with the sidearm still able to win it. So despite the numbers advantage, site control as well, spike going down, still not able to hold against Sentinels, who finds round number 12, just 1 away from taking us into map number 2 with a 1-1 tie score.
And weapon advantage too. Think about it, that they won 2 rounds in a row for Sentinels. They had a couple of guys that are still at SMGs. Zoms being one of them on a retake, getting a kill with the Spectre and switching over to a Classic to still manage to get the last kill. This is textbook Sentinels of like dominant NA Sentinels that we know. Is this going to continue on through the series? I hope so. And even look at how much confidence that they have. They're bringing in 2 Odins into this round. They're sending a message here, Rock. It's not like, hey, we're off here and there. It's just like, hey, I mean, there's a rant that came on from Shazam earlier on in the week there that you guys could probably find in the forums. But it shows how any type of playstyle that they want to play for Sentinels, it works out for them in the long run too.
I think part of it also is that Dapper is kind of a troll sometimes. So I think he's feeling pretty confident that he's like, I'm going to make this work even with Odin. I'm not scared, worried, or concerned. Sinatra goes to this weapon all the time, more typically when he's playing the role of Sova. There's the ult being utilized as well. The rocket's going to come out. It's right behind Chemicals. That's the 3rd on the round for Sinatra. And just like that, Sinatra sets the team up for success as Dapper comes in and picks up the split, the remaining 2 pins. It's a big map 1 victory for Sentinels.
2 Odins into B Heaven and just spraying down to get kills, tying up with Sinatra running down with the showstopper. I'm just looking at the scoreboard that we don't have on a screen here, but Sinatra had 5 first bloods in this game. Shazam had 4 first bloods in this game. You look at the Immortals, how many first bloods did they have? Only 2 in his whole series. Shot up with 2. So that means that they were so good in shutting down what Immortals were trying to do here on the attack, but at the same time, when they were trying to defend, those duels, those battles that were in the garage towards mid, towards A side, was always in favor of Sentinels.
Just an incredibly brutal first map, but would things have gone any better on Haven? Maybe.
No. Probably
not. Honestly. I'd say either way, if you're Immortals, you knew you were going to take a beating in map 1. The question mark for us is the bind pick. We thought we'd be going to Ascent in that second map, where Immortals feels very comfortable. They played against LG yesterday on bind, and sure, things went pretty well for them. But can we expect that over the long term? It's tough to kind of say. We're going to throw things to a break. When we come back, we'll be jumping into map number 2 here of the grand finals for VCT Close Qualifiers number 1, presented by Nerd Street Gamers. Stay tuned.
Contrast stitching, curves that'll hug your body, adjustable arms, custom embroidery, memory foam pillows, changeable color inserts, lay flat recline, removable logos, soft durable material. Yeah. Like what you see, baby? Zip chair.
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here, because this is just turning into a bit of a dog battle.
Like in groups always look.
I'm cutting you off here. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said G2's winning it. He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt.
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice. And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless? On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
Sentinels kicking off the series with a spicy map 1 victory, a big one over IMT, trying to set the pace for the series as well. Welcome back to the VCT Closed Qualifiers presented by Nerd Street Gamers. My name is Bach. Joining me on the show is Vansili. After that first map, you do worry a little bit about IMT, just because of how things have gone. But we'll talk about that in just a second. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors who have been helping make this event possible, most specifically HyperX. You can see this fancy mic behind me, by the way, with the RGB. It's quite beautiful. Legendary comfort goes wireless with the HyperX Cloud 2 wireless, built to be an ultra comfortable gaming headset with an amazing sound. It's no wonder that it's become the preferred gaming headset for millions of gamers. I've had some HyperX headsets over the years, and they truly are fantastic. Make sure you guys check them out if you're looking for a new one. Now, looking at that first map, how Immortals played versus Sentinels, maybe they need some new HyperX headsets because things didn't go so well for them in that first map at all.
Didn't I hear like rumors too that Shut Up plays with his headphones backwards?
Headset backwards, yeah.
So imagine you have HyperX Cloud 2s that are wireless. Now you can wear it backwards, run across the house
forwards,
to
upside down.
Exactly.
Cross your eyes like LeVar Burton in Star Trek. Whatever you want to do, it's your world.
But, I mean, if you want to focus back on that previous map here, Buck, I mean, for Immortals, you're just throwing that out the window. Again, when we're looking at this series, either it was going to be Split that was going to be banned, either it was going to be Haven that was going to be banned. They probably had to meet their demise on that second map. And you know what? To make it fun and to make it an exciting BO5, at least for Sentinels, they're coming out to fight right off the gates. And it replies anything that they tried to do. We talked about, hey, was it a good idea to see Gangster right now with that Sage? As we see them a lot right now, Stellar using it for LG, you see Sick using it right now onto this map for Sentinels. Can they try to replicate that type of dominance that these players have as a Sage on this map? And it seems as though it wasn't enough. Like the walls that came up were very going for individual plays for Sick, sorry, not for Sick, but for Gangster at the beginning that didn't pay off for them. But when they actually tried to fight back by having more body swords at B main, yes, it was a little bit of success, but that mid round, that late round was always in favor of Sentinels in the end.
Looking at the map picks as well, we were talking about it coming into that one. Immortals kind of had a 50-50 of suck. It was either Split or it was Haven. It's like we can play them on their best map, or we're going to play them on a map that they're also really, really, really good at.
Correct.
So they went ahead and banned out their best map. They've already played them as well on that map. They lost to them earlier in the tournament. I think it was in the open qualifier phase when they played against Sentinels previously. And they lost on Haven to them. I think 13-8 was the score. So we're going to be jumping into Bind now, a map that Immortals does look good on. I feel like we spent a little bit of time harping on the fact that they didn't go to Ascent and they decided to go to this instead. We watched them crush Luminosity yesterday in the upper finals. They've also beat Gen G in similar fashion, both games 13-3. They went to overtime against Xset 15-13, 13-6 victory over Envy. So in that regard, they are undefeated on this map throughout this portion of VCT. So it's still a good map for them, just not one we see them play as frequently as we do Ascent.
Definitely, and when you look at the map for Bind right now, is now they take the attacker side first for Immortals. I did mention it before, Shot Up and Chemicals being the one that usually lights up the scoreboard for the attacker side. How would they do it this time? And you even see right now, are we baiting in a Euro pick for a Shot Up, which we saw from Energy Shanks before on this map. They looked pretty good for a certain half until he fell off a bit. So if Shot Up is actually going to use Yoru at this point, is it going to be something new? Something? No, never mind. Just baiting it.
He's going to Phoenix. He likes to play the Phoenix on this map. This is the standard tried and true agent rotation that comes in from them for Bond.
That's it. And the name of the game pretty much is that Showers control that Immortals were doing that very well on the defender side, doing it very well on the attacker side, but still always leveraging Shot Up and Chemicals to get those entries if they want to split back into the B side. What answer does Sentinels have for that? Well, they have somebody like Sinatra, like Sick. I think I remember seeing Sick on Raze at some point too, and Sinatra on the Phoenix, but we're switching things around for this series as well, because wasn't it like First Strike we had that highlight reel of the 4K that came out from Sick? So they have a little bit of an agent change for Sentinels, at least just on their duelists, but both of these players are still very good on these two agents.
Yeah, looking at the past, Sinatra would typically play Phoenix on the map. Sick would typically play Raze. You would see Sinatra actually go for that curveball peek out mid occasionally when he was feeling confident, or run it back, pushing down short A, or even pushing long B. Wherever he really felt like it, he'd sometimes take Portal as well, come up on the flank behind Showers. So it'll be interesting to see that role swap, but this is something we see from Sick. Sick is like one of the most versatile players in North American Valorant. There is not an agent he doesn't play. It feels like he is constantly jumping from role to role.
And plays
Even
them
looking
well.
at the Nerd Street Gamers Winter Championships, the last time we saw Sentinels in a best of 5, 5 maps, 5 agents. Breach, Sage, Phoenix, Raze, and one more agent to close things out. The awkward and bizarre healer that we haven't really seen a whole lot of in this event. Okay, so we actually have a mispick apparently from Shazam, so we're going to remake the lobby. But I was going to say Sky, which is the one agent that we don't really see a whole lot of throughout these events. Maybe on Icebox we'll see Sky come in, but I feel like we don't see Sky very much or very many other places. It's typically there only. But we'll have to wait. Maybe we'll get to that point here and see if we're going to see that. I'm curious what the mispick was there, because Shazam had...
Well, he did come in as a Jet, so I think the roster
gonna
was
play
missing with
Sova?
Sova.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a Sova in there. It was going to be the interesting one to say, hey, they don't have any initiator that's going to try to get information back for their team. You just mentioned Sky. Sky is a team, an agent that maybe some players use. We saw it from TSM. We saw it from TSM. We saw it from Envy. But at that point, you don't have anything at all to try to play those retakes. Get that early information from Long B into Fountain at the same time if you're playing the defenders, and there you go. He is going for that Sova. Nothing really out of the ordinary at this point now for Sentinels, because even in general, looking at this composition, or even at the map for Bind, Jet seems to fall off a little bit more.
Yeah, big time. We see a lot of teams go away from the Jet pick on this map, especially teams that are proficient on the map in general. So we'll have actually a mirror comp with both teams bringing the same composition into play. Not entirely surprised. This is the somewhat standard meta for most teams on Bind. The thing to watch out for is going to be Immortals on that defensive side. When you start seeing Nature and JC Stanny get aggressive in showers from the defense, they were very good in that series against LG doing just that. They are going to be starting on the attacking side, though, so we'll get to see a little bit more from them on that side of the map. We didn't get to see too much of that in their series against LG just because of how lopsided the score was in that first half.
Definitely, and when you talk about the aggression that you have from Immortals, eventually we're going to take the defender side on the showers. There's also 2 great players that could fight back, and again, that's going to be Sick and Sinatra. Who knows if now, as both of them playing as duelists, are they still going to work together, or do they want to mix things up? Maybe a Sinatra and Zombs, a Dapper and Sick. But for this round, we're finally into Pistol, and this time it's going to be 8 Frenzies instead of 9, but it looks to be a potential bloodbath towards you very soon.
Well, hopefully you meant U-Haul and not me specifically. I'm not prepared for that. We'll see what's going to happen here. Sick gets the first pickup on the round. Nature dropped, and that kind of scares them away a little bit. You can see them backing off after the initial push didn't work out so well. No success gained, a player lost. Now, the B site defense is a little bit weakened. You've got a high cam up just outside of Hookah from Dapper. That'll allow a peek down into sight. Should they decide to take it, he'll be able to get that intel. You can see it right there just sitting on the wall. Dapper, though, has now snuck into Cubby. Shazam is using his Al drone to spot anything out over on long. There was no one there just yet. But they're going to be figuring this out pretty quickly here. We might start seeing players shift over. They've also got 2 players positioned ready for a quick pinch through the port, but we can also see a port back here from IMT. We'll see what ends up happening. There's the push into the site. The camera's going to give away the first position. Dapper's taken down, a shot up, moves into sight. JC Stanny with the execution as well onto Shazam. There's the portal play with both players coming through. Sick now has to make a move as the hot hands comes through. The nade is out as well. Good damage coming down, and we're suddenly back in an advantage here for Sentinels. Just like that, you snap your fingers, and they're back on the site. So they got great openings for IMT, but they couldn't control the site. Yet again, their post plants. It's not working out for them here in the Pistol.
Yeah, and it started off well, at least for Sentinels too, like forcing out the hot hands from Sick at the U-shaped hallway when they were actually trying to push up for Immortals. They know now utility, if they want to ever come back towards the A side, it's going to be weaker, but as they get into B, it's fully open. They get a couple of openings, post-plan situation. They were in great, well, not necessarily in great positions yet, but they still had a great numbers advantage. But when it came back to Sentinels on that retake, my gosh, that was fast. All those frenzies that came out for the trades, you saw that Shazam didn't have it on that first round because he still had a Shark Dart and an Owl Drone, so he was trying to scout that out for Sentinels at the beginning, where the Owl Drone didn't scout anybody. So they did get surprised going to the B site. but the retake was just well done for Sentinels. Again, playing for a setup. Those kills went out so fast, so they were ready for immediate trades. This round, quick rush, split from Immortals into this B side, jumping in the air, trade back and forth, as it's not so bad to start for the Immortals.
Again, Sentinels rock solid. Nice shot from Gangsta. Point blank range with the Sheriff. Limited success for Immortals here. Couple of kills, 2 in the round. But now we'll see the buy come in. We'll see what Sentinels decides to do. They've had pretty good success rate in these bonus rounds that we've seen, at least looking at that first map. Sick, 6-0 to start things off. Already has the ult available.
Crazy.
I feel like we're going to see it here. We might see the portal play. You can see Sick is on long B currently, so we might see a play towards port, or we might just see a charge down long B. But I anticipate that play coming out.
Yeah, probably recon dart towards Fountain, and then go for the owl drone through the teleporter if they don't see anybody there. And then you have Sick that's going to go through with the run it back right after. But they choose otherwise. You saw that he did pull out the owl drone, but then decided to say, look, we haven't heard any type of early opposition towards the showers yet, because Zoms is already in there. And then finally, there you go. After that recon dart got shot into the showers, Sick pulls it out, and now there's going to be pressure on both sides. So they know it's a default for the Immortals, and Sick is just going to battle down Fountain.
That flash made it difficult for him to spot out his target, but damage was dealt. As JC Stanley is limping away from the battle. No Sage this time around, no heals to bring him back to full HP.
Yeah.
So IMT is going to be working with one player, severely limited. It looks like they're going to be heading back towards the A site. You've got 2 players currently in showers, 3 here on the defense. There's 1 in U-Haul, 1 playing back behind APC, and then you've got 1 up in heaven. That would be Sinatra as Raze. Nice fat paranoia to try to slow down the push. That allows Dapper to get into the corner. Dapper from distance able to find a quick kill. Zoms is there as well, and again, the SMGs proving to be way more powerful in the hands of Sentinels than the rifles are for IMT. The last player on the site is trying to escape through the showers. JC Stanley just wants to get a spike plant out of this. Sick says, no way, not on my watch. The last remaining player is Gangsta. And while he's back on his trusty Sova, there's not really much that can be done here. Just looking to take out 1 or 2 more players and then save the rifle yet again. Has the ult to bring into the next round, but it's another one on the scoreboard, and there's Zoms. Ready and waiting for Gangsta. It's 3-0. Sentinels have not stopped. Where they left off in that first map, they pick up in the second.
Yeah, it was difficult for Immortals to take over that A site after the initial battle towards Fountain, because when we clicked through the players quite quickly, we still had a full kit for Zoms, we still had a full kit for Sinatra playing up towards Heaven. They even double up in SMGs in towards U-shaped hallway, and the fight was perfect in their favor for Sentinels. There was no trade there. Again, that story comes back into these 1 versus 1 battles, or the face-to-face battles always seems to favor Sentinels. And you could try to pull out as many utilities as you can. You could try to push as many times as you can as a team, but if you're not getting those, those kills like that, like they're doing right now for Sentinels, you're into a very steep uphill battle to try to come back. Sentinels are sending a message, and they continue to send it right now in the second map.
This is the Sentinels we expected to see earlier in the event, but they seem to struggle at times. Here, though, they look buttery smooth.
Oh, yeah.
As it's IMT who is having a difficult time against them. Now, as I say that, I cast or curse it a bit for the Sentinels fans in chat.
Standard.
Sick is the lone defender now, getting flashed out, has to be careful. I'm not sure they spotted him inside that smoke. That'll allow him to stay in this position a little while longer. The bullets pouring through the wall from the Odin. You can guess who's got that one. Sick finally pokes his head out. But the biggest problem, look where the spike is. So far away from the play that they couldn't really make a move. Luckily for them, in the meantime, Gangsta kind of snuck up on this A site, got behind them, and now they've got a player advantage, and they've got that ult to work with as well. So they've got Hunter's Fury to try and make this a little bit easier. They've got to face off against Sick and Sinatra first, though.
Yeah, Sinatra, he has 2 blast packs if he wants to try to jump into the site. For Sick, I'm pretty sure he has a couple of curveball still, but we have great positioning for Immortals. Looking to double up, there's that curveball from Sick, but the double peek from JC Stani and his teammate from U, leaving Sinatra by his lonesome. First contact is coming in from the showers, and that's going to spot Gangsta. Again, still having his ult, so he can fall all the way back towards spawn just to make sure that he guarantees his round. We tap the spike, we're trying to bait it out, but we don't even need it. We have the 3 players peeking at the same time, and the Thrifty comes in favor of Immortals. And who were the first 2 that got the kills on the board? Chemicals and Shot Up. Getting that getting the hookah control together and just opening up long range with a Sheriff and a Stinger. That's not easy to do at that distance.
I mean, it was really Gangsta, though, with his lurk pushing
yes.
through in that A site. If it weren't for him, this round could have gone very differently. Unfortunately, they don't really get much out of that. You know, they get the Odin and 1 rifle. So, yeah, sure, it's a thrifty round, so their money's good, but they didn't walk away with as much as they could have had that gone towards the B side where there was way more weapons down.
Yeah, well, those 2 initial kills pulled out the rotation from the A side, too. And then when that Boombot came out and he shot it out, you think that the attack was going to come towards B, but Shot Up, this round is going to come with the run it back to clear out, create some space. Hunter's Fury to be countered by Shazam. Same thing to come to try to take it down. It's going to be Legolas mirrored. But still, nobody getting kills out of that one, but the space has been created. The site is almost taken, and Sinatra is still at the A cubby. Raining damage still for 2 kills, make that 3 into the round. And just like that, just 1 more to go. After that whole hiatus from the run it back into Hunter's Fury, it's just Sentinels running back into the site and dominating Immortals.
Was that a Lord of the Rings reference?
Yeah. I was trying to find something different. We always say that too many times.
No, I actually started watching those movies recently with my kids, and they're loving it. So
it's great for sleeping.
It is. Or if you want to go for a walk, you can see how to walk by watching all of those movies.
True.
Because that's most of what those movies are, is just a whole lot of walking. Looking at this next round, the buy for Immortals is clumsy. It's not really what you want to see. Sick. Taken out pretty quickly, though, by Shot Up with just a Stinger. That's a fast kill coming in from them as well, and it looks like they want to explode off this potentially. Shot Up's taken out, and they've also got to worry about this player that's coming through. That's the ult being popped. At least Chemicals got the kill first, but the rocket is delivered. And in the end, it'll be brought down to 2. Nice paranoia coming out. Dapper's got to move behind the box, manages to find safety, and then just says, I see your spray, and I give you just a few bullets to the skull. Gangsta alone. It's a 1v2. The Aldrone's going to go out in response to the Aldrone that initially tagged him. Good movement to go inside the smoke. But the bullets are going to come through, and it's an interesting battle between the Sovas with some backup coming in from their Omen. That'll be Zoms, who's up now on top of the box. Nice paranoia coming out. Gangsta just hides inside the smoke, and the round goes the way of Sentinels. More of the same. 5 HP is all that remains for Shazam.
It was so close. First off, I want to commend the timing that was so well done for Shot Up and Chemicals, because you saw from the point of view of Sick inside Hookah, he was already aiming down to try to get rid of that Boombot, which means now the Stinger is aiming at the legs of Shot Up where he could just run in and just fight him back with his own SMG and get that fight. In the end, though, on that 1v1 before Shazam finally had some backup from Zoms, I just love the back and forth between those 2 Sovas together, playing with the Owl drones through the smoke, running through the smoke, going back and forth through the trade. But it's still going to be the numbers advantage that takes the upper hand for Sentinels in the end. And that fight on Hookah was so important. It shows how much Sentinels are doing very well using the portals in their favor. And now they're finally trying to take Shower's control, and they take the upper hand for Immortals.
Sentinels looking great on the defense.
There.
The hat's been tossed out for Immortals to give away the positions. They've got control of Hookah. The Chemicals and Shot Up trying to move in. Now there is going to be one on site. That is Shazam with some support coming in as well. Ult's been popped by JC Stanley. That's from the shadows, allowing him to get into a site. A high nade does some damage as it rains out over the site. Sinatra's dropped by his counterpart on the other side, Chemicals. Shazam just spamming through that smoke, looking to do some damage. But it's actually Dapper who drops the Spike Planter Nature through the bin, making things a little bit more palatable for Sentinels. Chemicals will have to go back in, scoop up the spike, and go for the plant. They're not prepared for Sick, who's already on the flank coming through from Hookah. We've still got Dapper in spawn, but it's a quick shot coming out from JC Stanley to make things easier for them. Sick still doing great work. Pops the ult as he got shot, so it's a 1-2 punch. But Shazam gonna line up 2, and some insurance bullets at the end as well, just to make sure reincarnation is not going to be a factor in the round. 6-1 for Sentinels. It was looking really good there for IMT after that ult got popped for Sick, because you see the run it back popped. He dies immediately, then dies in the same spot because all they have to do is just keep holding down the trigger. But Shazam is there to shut it down in the end, even when it's close.
He killed him. Pretty sure he killed him like half blinded too.
Yeah.
So that was very well done for Shazam, and like you said, like those insurance bullets, they want to make sure that the last two players doesn't have a run it back themselves. Very well done for Sick.
Run it back while you're dead, like.
Yeah. And there you go. Yeah, you see it from that replay in the pip. He was definitely full blind actually looking at that and getting 2 wallbang shots in the end for the last 2 kills. And I gotta say, there was a slight misstep being played for Immortals on a pulse plan, because when Sick was flanking at the beginning, he was making a lot of footsteps in Sands. Should have been heard there by Gangster inside Hookah. Nonetheless, though, 6-1. Not much money to work with in this round for Immortals. Couple of Stingers, 1 Sheriff, and the first one already to fall as they continue this dynamic duo of Chemicals and Shut Up, trying to take this Hookah control. And it's always that long-range battle where, yes, it worked a couple of rounds ago where they finally maybe had that first round. But outside of that, you need those rifles to come in. And when they have those rifle rounds, Sentinels are just fighting back right at the window against them.
Back to the B site they go. Chemicals gonna fly out. Sick with a curveball to slow it down. You can feel the damage dealt to his teammate through that smoke. Grunt. But it's Sick who's basically making this look easy. That's 3 kills on the round for Sick. Sinatra and Shazam show up in the end. The tongue twister. Try to say that 5 times fast. Sinatra and Shazam show up in the end. 7-1. And it's looking just as bad as Split did as well, with individual performance being a consistent thread across both maps thus far.
You can see those trap wires being set up here by Dapper that locks a couple of players. So these attempts towards this B side, yeah, they get into the side. Pulse plan not working too well. I gotta say, not necessarily lucky on the round that they got when Shazam got that 2 kill, but Shazam did get 2 kills while he was fully blinded. But outside of that, they're not able to hold these pulse plans and these openings. What can work? They're going to try to work with a showstopper, trying to push out towards the back of the site. We have, actually connects onto the octagon, onto Chemicals. Gangster's trying to clear up towards the octagon at the same time, and Elbow. So that's already 2 utilities or 2 ultimates being utilized from Immortals to clear out the site. They still have to run it back. Maybe for them to really want to try to guarantee this round, just pop all the ultimates and just try to win that round.
Actually bested by nature. I thought for sure
Same here.
Zoms was going to win that 1v1. But now they've got a decent opportunity. Cybercage is going to go down. The tripwire was taken out immediately. Shazam has to be careful as paranoia prevents him from really being able to do much on top of the Cybercage and Dark Cover that were present on top of him. Dapper up in heaven. Right here. Finding a shot onto Shot Up. Gangsta's in the corner by Cubby. And JC Stanley's got the crossfire. This is a great setup for IMT. They should be able to win this round with the numbers advantage and the positions that they've got. There's the boombot coming through first. That'll give away the position. And yeah, pretty quickly goes the way of IMT. That's what one would hope. They had solid post-plant setups, and this time they don't make any mistakes, and they managed to capitalize on those positions.
Yeah, and it's not over yet. I think 7-2, yes, it looks very one-sided, but there's still a lot of Valorant to be played in this half. Seeing a 7-5 and 8-4, something very normal that we see actually on a defender side where they take the lead by 4 or 5 rounds. So I wouldn't give up yet as an Immortals fan. They're still looking for answers outside of the dominance that they have from Hookah control, and they had a few successes by taking over Showers control. So there's still ways to get control of the site. But again, as I mentioned in the first map, the mid-round, the late rounds for Sentinels seems to be very good for this team currently in this best out of 5, and we need to find that answer here for Immortals. But to start the initial round, it's to run it back, a split to the A side, and Sinatra and company of Sentinels will give up the site.
Sinatra's in a great position right now. Oh no, the timing. Sinatra looks away at the worst possible second. Likely would have been able to find a pickup there. I like the move though, getting vertical on top of the box. It's a bit risky given the lack of sight control. But look at the positions right now. So many players over on the side of U-Haul. There's going to be a brawl in this direction. It's a back and forth volley of kills. 1 for 1 for 1. Zon's now moving in, gets the best of JC Stanley. There's one around the corner. Curveball's right inside of his face. That Shot Up coming out on top of it, and it's going to be a 1v1. It's Shot Up versus Shazam. Shazam is towards the site, has not yet tapped the spike. Shot Up's coming around the bend, and Shut Up does what Shut Up does best. It's a clutch round coming in for IMT and a third round on the board. If they can close this half out 7-5, it's not too bad.
That's right. That's literally what we were saying before. Literally what we were saying before. Just try to get these last 2 rounds. You've worked enough, actually, that if you look at this scoreboard now, chat, they're actually low in economy for Sentinels. So they still have a chance here to bring it to 7-4. But the thing is, it is Sentinels. And I've mentioned this to you, Mark, before we went into this series, is like, okay, well, thankfully, Haven's not in there, because when Haven is in the series and you see Sentinels with SMGs, rather, they're still very good with these guns. Who knows what's going to happen now onto Bind, because we haven't seen a lot of Sentinels since probably the last year. But let's see what they do with it on the defender side. And it starts off with them switching things up on the defenders a little bit by having Sinatra play all the way close towards Showers.
It's quiet early on. Got Sinatra up top on the boxes outside of Showers. Again, early presence from Immortals towards Hookah, but they don't press that issue like they have in the past. It's good for them that they didn't, as there was one in there waiting, although it isn't really a great buy coming in from Dapper. It's an SMG in his hands. On the site for Sentinels, we've got 2 players. We've got Raze, that's Sinatra, and then you've got Zombs as well. The Omen. They use the blast pack to take out any hardware that could be down. Sinatra's going to try and go for the swan dive, but ends up clunking his head on the side instead and gets dropped by Nature. There's still one on the site. The flash comes through, and Zombs doesn't really have a choice. Tries to go for the peek, but can't see much. And the site is lost. The flank comes through, but the run it back expires before he's able to do any damage. It's a 3-on-5 retake. Another promising look for IMT.
Yeah, especially after that run it back being canceled. It's such a long rotate for Sick, as everybody else from Sentinels is still waiting for him, the ones that are still alive. So that wastes a lot of time onto this Spike that's currently taken down. And again, it's still great positioning. It's down to a 4 versus 2. You're starting to maybe give up on these on this retake attempt for Sentinels. As with these SMGs, maybe they're looking for a double peak or something, but they are very low on the economy. So I think you should try to save these last 2 weapons. First curveball, he misses the blaze wall for them to try to cross. So that just makes it a lot easier here for Shut Up and Chasey Stani to just pick up the last 2 kills. 7-4 right now, so good 3 rounds in a row. 1 more to go, and we're back to a very close game.
Yeah, nice little burst of rounds for Immortals. As you take a look at the scoreboard, it's pretty even performance from Immortals, whereas you've got that kind of lone player sitting at the top for Sentinels with Sick sitting at 15, 6, and 1. But the kind of even performance for Immortals isn't really stellar, so you're hopeful that that'll change in the second half. Again, we did talk about this. Their defensive side looks really good when we watched them play the other day against LG. Specifically, their Showers control, the 1-2 punch of JC Stani and Nature. Very powerful. And here, one of those players going to kick things off. It's Nature. Dropping Dapper early in the round, who got aggressive on short, trying to force a fight and give them an early advantage. Instead, they're at a disadvantage. Dart's going to come through, and Nature was hoping that it would bounce around the corner and continue to sneak up a little bit further. Got spotted by the Pulse, has to take it down and delay the play.
And on top of that, when Dapper was pushing towards short A, we had 3 players on Showers. Now they rotate back. It was a long rotate again for Sentinels. They have an open sight, but now Sick tries to run through after the Owl drone came out. But it's still gonna lose. He's still gonna lose that fight versus Chemicals. Now as he satchel charges, speaking about Chemicals on the top of the green boxes, it's gonna be an easy plant. Pulse plant on a 5 versus 3. Nothing really in terms of ultimates for a retake for Sentinels. They have probably a paranoia in the hands of Zombs that could maybe help them out on this retake. And Sinatra's making his way on a big flank with Shazam.
As a Cypher main, I'm always impressed by Ray's main's movement. That blast pack utilization from Chemicals to get on top of the double stack in sight. I always marvel at that. It's now down to just 1 remaining player. It's Shazam, so 7-5 scoreline for Immortals. A flawless round to end things as well. They're starting to pick up steam. We're going to throw things to a very quick break. When we come back, we'll see if they can keep that moving in the second half. Stay tuned. And right back into it we go. A nice little burst of rounds at the end that kept Immortals in this game, closing out the half 7-5. One of the biggest problems, though, for them in that first half was dealing with Sick. And we'll see how things shape up for them. I like the play coming in currently from Sentinels. They use the Shock Dart to take any Cypher hardware that would be down on short out of the equation, but they take significant damage on the intent to move up. They're still committing to this site, and it's a bloodbath right now as it's come down to a 3-on-3, and they still don't have site control, so what do? They pull the ripcord and try to get out. Chemicals does prevent Shazam from being able to rotate out. Look at the health that's remaining currently. You've got 1 HP, and with that Shock Dart coming in, a little bit scary. Going full pucker on the clench. And it's going to come down to that last player. Can he get killed by a dart? Is that possible? That would be amazing.
No.
Shots through the bin, though, so it doesn't matter.
Nice wallbang, too, with the Classic to get the kill in the end for Chemicals. And as I talked about Chemicals and that oof that I made, that long range that he had from Heaven onto Shazam to try to rotate onto the B teleporter was actually really nice. Just very well done for Immortals to slow down that aggressive push that came in from the short A side. And that's all thanks to the utility that was used by their defender, their Sentinel, the Nature, actually has Cypher right now, putting those cages up. And preventing Sentinels really getting more ground than past the U-shaped hallway. So very well done for Immortals. Again, versus Frenzies, you're winning those trades. You're happy about that one as well. So because Sentinels got a couple of kills, though, on that first round, it's going to be a full stinger round pretty much for Sentinels and a couple of Spectres for Immortals. So this is going to be another fast push from Sentinels, and this time for speed.
Going for that typical early hookah control with the paranoia through. The nade slows it down and eliminates that threat. We've seen this play before, and we've seen the counter as well. That paranoia coming through from Portal. Hot Hands does go down to prevent the flank, but now they're sewn in. They're stuck into these positions. They're going to have to fight their way out of it. The nade comes through, but the kills are piling up right now for Sentinels, and they know what that means for them opportunity-wise. The A site is vacant, and you can see the defense currently starting to rotate back around through spawn. They're not going to get there in time. So Sentinels will be able to set up a spike plant here, as the Recon Dart will give away the positions. They've already got one charging in. It's a headshot dink coming out for Nature, but the fatality, not a problem. Chemicals has to come in and do the remainder of the dirty work. It's a 2-on-3 numbers advantage for Sentinels.
Still very good with the amount of headshots they're getting with these stingers, because after these fights, even if they lose it, either it's Immortals or Sentinels, the person that they lost against is still low on HP, so still very doable for a retake, as Chemicals is only at 32 HP. If they could actually win this from a flank coming in from Sinatra, catches him in a reload, unfortunate there, and that's going to be the force buy coming in favor of Sentinels. I think that shot up at that point when they were trying to retake towards the hookah was a little bit too fast. I'm expecting from the comms, potentially from Immortals, that they wanted to pinch in from the B site and also from the back sands, but a very nice cage that went up from Dapper towards that window prevented Immortals from getting more pressure from the B side, and then shot up just walked into a trap with JC Stani, unfortunately.
So much for that rhythm that they'd been building. They win the pistol and can't muster up enough in the round that follows. Nice curveball coming around the corner. Sick was ready for this setup potentially. This aggressive play gets picked apart early on, and they're forced to fall back. The plan is not panning out so well, especially with Sinatra spotting out Chemicals over on the B site. Now the dart is in the belly of Nature, who's over by Showers. You've got Shot up in position, just looking to line one up. Has to watch out for the Shock Dart. They go a little bit too deep. They've got a good crossfire with the pistols. Another Shock Dart comes in, but it's actually the classic work of Nature that's doing a bulk of the damage, despite the fact that Shot up's the one that got the kill. You've got Gangsta coming through from spawn. You've got Nature and Showers. You've got JC Stanley starting to rotate around. But another pickup on the round for Sentinels means it's a lot harder here for the last remaining player. And oh god, no one saw that.
It's one of those things, and when you're trying to shoot somebody from behind, it's just so difficult to land it right in the head, like, where you want it to be. So, yeah, a little bit stressful. At least he capitalizes on that, and he didn't invest that much. Ooh. And there you go. He redeems himself with a nice right click in the face of Sinatra. Picks up a weapon in the process, sorry, as he comes across the dark cover. Zombs stops him with the Bulldog. And that's going to be the round coming in for Sentinels. It looked pretty okay, but I think from the fact that they lost the first few shots, I like the counter that you had from Shazam bringing the L drone, because him doing that forced Nature, who is in the A cubby, to run back towards the A site and already utilize both of his cages. So any type of stopping power after is going to be so difficult for Immortals when they only have pistols up against 4 players or 3 players running up towards short A.
It will be a buy that includes the op. Will we see that pan out a little bit better for them here on Bind than it did on Split? It felt like Sinatra was way more, or excuse me, Shazam was way more dialed in with the op than Chemicals was in map number 1. But then again, we didn't really get to see the op played too much for IMT, as money was a consistent problem. Here's that Showers play we've seen from them before, but that's exactly what we were talking about. Dapper just slides out, and that should not happen. You have the op on top of the bin, positioned there specifically to prevent that play from being possible. So the very least you'd hope if your op goes down, you get a trade, but no. Dapper on the duck slide back across, sprays one through the wall, and things are just falling apart here. Six gonna use the ult, run it back, getting him out of Showers. Sinatra gets vertical yet again, as we've seen him do time and time again. And now Gangsta is the last player alive and likely would be better off saving, going back to the B site and grabbing the op that was dropped by Chemicals.
Well executed there for Sentinels at the beginning of this round. From all angles, actually. Showers control was pretty perfect from the way it was done. For Sentinels, you saw that they utilized, what? It was a paranoia from the defender side to go against an owl drone, and then they go for shock darts on the attacker side too, but knowing where the shock dart was coming from, it was direct shots, so it just sprayed through the smoke and got a couple of kills. But Dapper, that 2K that he got into B, just a walking tap in the face of the operator. I'm pretty sure that was Chemicals that was holding up that op. And there you go, a walking to get that kill, a spray to try to trade it back from shot up, where unfortunately the wall bang doesn't come into his favor. You just weaken down so much of that defense for Immortals from both sides of the map, where it's just like easy right now, easy pickings for Sentinels. They could go wherever they want and always have a man advantage into the site. This puts now Immortals back into a mixed buy. You got a couple of stingers. We even have one with no armor, and that is going to be for Nature. Chemicals has nothing but a classic, because it seems as though they want to bring that operator back into the next round to hopefully come back in the second half. But Sentinels, ever since that conversion that they had on the force buy of the stingers, have been making this very one-sided.
Blast pack comes through. I like this setup with players coming through on the portal and trying to get a crossfire in mid. There's a camera down that at least spots out one player. Here's the footsteps of the other. They knew there was one in portal. Again, you've got Sinatra up on top of the double boxes using the blast pack to get a little bit more verticality, but it's a nice pick-off. Nature from distance with the stinger, able to cash in. Now, Six got into backside sight. The rocket actually does manage to land somehow from significant distance post-mortem as well. There's a Hunter's Fury being utilized by the defense. Gangsta sending some shots out from the Sheriff afterwards as well. They've got a player advantage, but they don't really have the firepower. They're going to have to face off against the rifles. Zoms is sneaking onto the site.
30 seconds left.
There's one currently in U-Haul, and shot up again with the Stinger. The SMGs have proved to be very good for Immortals when they've needed them. In a pinch, they can go to those weapons and find some success. And they find a thrifty round here that they really needed, because they did not want to let Sentinels get any closer to that magic number 13. Does the money break? No, but it's closer to that point for Sentinels.
Yeah, for Immortals, you'll take whatever you can. And looking at that round, that last kill that just happened from Nature onto Shazam, I think it's a little bit of a misstep. He kind of ran in there by himself, maybe trying to take U-shaped hallway control, where he also has a spike on his back. So dropping that weapon early forces the early rotation. And like you said, Bach, when they have a numbers advantage, already knowing where the spike is down, but also where it's very difficult to retake back for Sentinels. And on top of that, to take U-control from the easy rotation from spawn. It was a lot harder for Sentinels to try to capitalize and get that spike back. So very well done to capitalize off the mistake. And speaking about trying to take that leverage to your side, it's going to be the run it back from shot up. Gets a little bit of information, a little bit of damage onto Zoms, but does not capitalize on the kill, which now Sinatra tries to move in with the showstopper and gain ground. Meanwhile, one to fall courtesy of Sick inside the A site.
The showstopper ults right now working out quite icely. More specifically for Sinatra than for his counterpart on Immortals. Immortals, excuse me, are down a player, but Chemicals does end up bringing it back and making it a 3-on-3. The site on B is completely empty, so they force the defense to stack up towards A. Now they'll get a free spike plant out of this, and they even have time to set up for solid post-plant positions. What they don't anticipate is this cam from Nature. So Nature can use that camera to spot out player positions, but there's no one on the site. They're playing back off of this a little bit further away. They do have Neural Theft, so if they can find a kill here and Nature can toss out that hat, it'll give away the remaining players' positions. That Shock Dart might make it a little easier, but the Neural Theft is completely eliminated as a threat. And again, Sentinels do what they've done consistently throughout this series thus far. They shut it down in the post plan.
Despite having two agents that are able to get a little bit of information inside the site, we're talking about the camera from Nature. Then Gangster threw a recon dart onto the wall into B. When they got into the site, though, they realized it was fully open. It did not ping anybody out. They're thinking, okay, well, they're probably Elbow, Hookah, but they did not expect a double player crossfire setup from Sick and his teammate over towards Octagon. So as they're trying to run across, it just picked off. Unfortunate there. And that's just off the great pressure that they had on the A side at the beginning of the round. Keeping Immortals where they don't have information of where players are at towards you, towards the A side, and even worse on a retake. So Sentinels adapting very well into the mid-round. One more time, mentioning that again. Mid-round, end-round. Very good in favoring Sentinels in this series so far. This round, it's going to be a couple of Shock Darts. Sinatra's not going to get damaged that much by it, but they are trying to do a lot of pressure towards this Hookah while the rest are moving behind, are running back from Sick and an Owl Drone, but unfortunately no kills out of that.
Shazam says it's okay. I'll try to find the kills with my ult. From distance, those pulses pour out through the walls. And that'll be Chemicals, who's now watching from the sidelines. I feel like we've seen so many damage-based ults from Sentinels land successfully in this second half and in this the first half of this map specifically. It's just been something they have way more frequently than the players on IMT, and when IMT has it, they don't seem to be landing nearly as many of those. JC Stanny will find one player coming through the showers, but Zoms is there with immediate trade back. JC Stanny is still on site, trying to do some damage, takes down his Omen counterpart, his doppelganger. He's stuck behind default boxes as the spike goes down. Good cover coming in from the team. Spam not really going to do much there through that box. So Sentinels again can set up a post plant, a position they are very scary in, and you've got this slow play coming through the showers from Dapper. That is so incredibly scary. Now the position was given away by the Neural Theft, so that'll prevent the surprise from being a factor, but they've still got to deal with this player who's in U-Haul. They try to spin back, but they just can't keep their eyes peeled on two different sides. It's 12-7. Sentinels are one round away from closing out map number 2, and going up in the series they came into with a disadvantage.
Yeah, and that's why Showers control on the defender side is so important. You lose that right there, on a post plan. It's just so hard to, from the tight angles that you can play from Showers, the jiggle peak that you have if it comes down to a 1 versus 1 on the post plan for the attackers, and even just trying to waste down the clock if they're trying to chase after you towards Showers. There's multiple angles and corners you could hide behind from, and just make sure that they stay as far away from the spike. But now when you're trying to push towards you, he comes in for the backstab, which is very well done for Sentinels. Again, we talked about how good Immortals were on the Showers control, but unfortunately in this game today, it's not the same that we saw versus LG yesterday. And now into this round. Map point for Sentinels to try to make this 2-1 in this series in this best out of 5 grand finals. It's Sentinels now taking control and pressure of Short 8 and Hookah, but we are trying to fight back here as Chemicals is trying to spray with the Singer through the smoke, puts one at low HP, a double peek, but a body block, unfortunately, as two, or should I say a first one falls towards Hookah.
Gangsta somehow survives with 1 HP. JC Stanny, who was trying to take this fight early on Short, spent his paranoia, but still used his dark cover to at least get one before being taken out. It's a 3-on-3 again with 45 seconds. Nature does have that great flank, like you said, coming through after pushing through from Showers. Are they prepared? They do turn around, but not in time. The rifle's going to get picked up by Nature. Great shooting coming in, and they're not out of this one yet. Shot up from up on Heaven, squeezes a bullet over the top of the box. And we'll find number 8 for IMT. They're going to need to win 4 more in order to force us into an overtime scenario. And for those unfamiliar, 5K, and they swap sides after every round. You have to win 2 in a row. Ult points reset to half should we end up in that situation.
So it seems like it's still doable here for Immortals. Yes, they're going to be on a lower buy, but they'll have a couple of rifles, maybe small shields now for Chemicals in the end. He's going to go full shield and Stinger instead. And what I did like about Immortals on that previous round is that we talked about how good they were in Showers control and didn't work out. This time they're switching things up. Let's try to add pressure towards Hookah. They were able to surprise 2 players there, and they're going to try it again towards that area. So a Recon Dart, yes, is going to show that there's going to be at least 1 or 2 presence for Immortals inside Showers, but now they try to fight back towards Hookah, where the best agent so far for that, you see it, it's Sinatra. Boombot to try to clear it out. Paint shells being thrown, even the satchel charges, just to try to keep them back and preventing them from pushing forward into this Hookah control for the defenders. But again, it's a stalemate. There's no control yet, so it's still a very good win for Immortals in the end.
They've done a decent job at keeping Sentinels out of Hookah early on, but these long-range battles have not gone their direction. Looking back a couple of rounds when Chemical had the op on top of boxes inside sight, unable to pick up a kill onto Dabber that should have been theirs. Because of the nature of that last round win, their money isn't fantastic either. So they're down to 3 players here as the site's been lost. JC Stanny, again, trying to do the Lord's work for Immortals. But now it's all fallen onto the last remaining player inside Hookah. The position's given away, but Nature is still fighting for this one. 2 quick kills come out from the Cypher mains. And there's a 1v1 on site with the flank basically coming through on B-Long, playing towards the bomb with Shazam. It's 13-8 in favor of Sentinels, a much better scoreline in general for Immortals. But now they've lost their advantage in this series. They were up 1-0 after coming in from the upper bracket. It's now 2-1 in favor of Sentinels.
Yeah, and even that last round, as I mentioned, I thought Chemicals was going to go with the Stinger, but it seems like at the last second, he sold away his Stinger to buy a Bucky into that round to really try to gain control of that Hookah. But again, the utility that's being used, you talked about it, Mark. Not only is it the ultimates, but I got to commend Sentinels on the amount of times they're able to capitalize with the utilities to eventually split the defense and gain that map control. So Sentinels continue to look very good from their run from yesterday in the lower bracket finals, and they're just looking to seal the deal here. Taking a lead 2-1, that means that they only need 1 more.
Well, we'll hopefully see Immortals fire back because everyone wants a close series, and this is not what we expected. We'd hope that they'd come into this one with a little bit more heat. However, at the same point in time, Sentinels has so much to prove after the way they got through this bracket thus far.
Yeah.
Losing in the early part of the bracket, having to fight through the lowers, losing in the Nerd Street Gamers Winter Championships in the finals against LG to begin with. It's not exactly been a great start to 2021 for Sentinels, but obviously it's still early on in the year, and they still have a chance to change that storyline moving forward.
It's when it matters, right? When it matters, they're still stepping up. Right now, it's the Challengers Grand Finals, and they're taking a lead 2-1. So I got to say it's maybe a bad start for the Nerd Street Gamers, but when you're thinking about the bigger picture, the bigger circuit with the Challengers Tour or the Challenger stops for the Champions Tour, Sentinels are still here to play.
Well, I want to give you guys a little heads up on things that are going on currently with Nerd Street Gamers. Want to shout out specifically the Nerd Street Plus program that was more recently launched by Nerd Street Gamers. You can save $25 on NSG's March Valorant tournaments with Nerd Street Plus and 50% discount on both the March Monthly and the March Open Qualifier. That is absolutely huge. Head to nerdstreetgamers.com/plus for more information. We're going to throw things to a break. When we come back, we'll see if Immortals can try and move this series further on into the map pool, or if Sentinels is going to be shutting things down 3-1 and proving that they are still one of the top dogs in NA. Stay tuned.
Oh, baby. Contrast stitching. Curves that'll hug your body. Adjustable arms. Custom embroidery. Memory foam pillows. Changeable color inserts. Lay flat, recline. Removable logos. Soft, durable material. Yeah. You like what you see, baby? Zip chair.
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here, because this is just turning into a bit of a dog battle.
Like in groups always look.
I'm cutting
they
you
always
off
look
here. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said
They
G2's
play
winning it.
off.
He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt.
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice. And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless?
On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
Well, we were a little concerned coming into the series based on the map pool and the depth of play for Sentinels, and they've proved that we were right to be worried. 2-0 to start things off. Obviously, Immortals has one map coming in from the upper bracket, so it's 2-1 currently. We move into map number 3 now, which is going to be Icebox, and we'll see if Immortals can finally find some success here against Sentinels. This is the VCT Closed Qualifiers presented by Nerd Street Gamers. My name is Bach. Joining me on the show, Van Silly. Map number 1 was not good. Map number 2, slightly better. So maybe Immortals is trending upwards, and we can see a victory here. Thoughts on Icebox?
I think it's very similar to what Sentinels Dapper was tweeting before. It's like, hey, they just want to do it for the content versus LG. Well, maybe Immortals wants the same thing, because when you look at this best out of 5, the 2 maps remaining are Icebox and Ascent. And when you look at the past history of Sentinels on Icebox and Ascent, it's always a toss-up. They could actually lose these maps. So looking into Icebox now could be a very interesting one where, you know, looking at overall, at least in the series, I still feel that Immortals needs to find their footing. But I believe that Icebox and Ascent could be the last 2 maps where finally we could see them turn up. The thing is, though, for Sentinels looking at that roster on Icebox today, they might bring some changes at the or they might continue with the changes that they made yesterday versus LG. A difference that we see for Sentinels now is that they got Sinatra away from Raze, and he picked Reyna in that map. While for Dapper, he dropped Killjoy and brought in Sage into the map, and it worked very well for them, at least for the attacker side. The attacker side looked very one-sided for them. They looked very dominant on the attacker side, but once they took the defense, you finally started seeing LG come back into the game. Can this be the case now for Immortals 2, where they might struggle a bit against this new comp versus Sentinels and then try to fight back? Because again, I talked about playstyles that are very similar for Thief, for LG, and for Shot Up for Immortals. Come out and fight. How can it get away with the kills and dismiss that Thief's able to do, that Shut Up could very much well do at the same time? So I think for Sentinels, their solution is, and their answer is, let's play the same game and play it better. And you know what? They have Sinatra to do it. I couldn't think of anybody better to fight back with.
Yeah, one thing I do like is when we see Shot Up play as Reyna. I feel like Shot Up on Reyna just clicks a little bit differently than Shot Up on Phoenix. That's not to say that Shot Up has bad games as Phoenix all the time. Sometimes we see insane performances, like against Xset earlier on in the tournament, where it went 15-13 and he finished with 37 kills and 367 ACS, 219 ADR. That does happen, but I feel like the performance from Shot Up on Reyna is a little bit more consistent. I feel like we see that more frequently, and we'll see if that's going to be the case here. Now, again, reminder, we watched Immortals play this yesterday, 3rd map against LG. They barely won that, and I mean like skin of their teeth. 12-11, final round, 1v1. Stellar had a flank play coming in of sorts, vertically flanking. He was going up over top of Shot Up, who had like 37 HP left and like 7 bullets left in the magazine. But unfortunately, so did Stellar. Both players were low on HP. Both players had a magazine that wasn't quite full.
Yeah.
Had he gotten that kill, we would have gone into overtime. Things could have shaped up a little bit differently than they ultimately did. So even though Immortals has looked a little bit better moving through this series and has had good success on this map, I'm still concerned. Because like you said, Sentinels, they're wishy-washy on this map. Like, good success followed by failure, success, failure, back and forth. It's not a great map for them. But when they really click and things are really moving, then it's scary. And we saw the recent change that you mentioned coming into this, Sinatra moving to Reyna. That might be what they need to find that success. That
and when I looked at the
consistent
composition,
success.
and when they played this yesterday, Mark, I was like, is this going to be good enough for Sentinels? Because taking a Raze away, the only thing that you have for clearance in terms of angles with utilities is the shock darts from Sick. But you don't have any paint shells to try to clear things out. You don't have alarm bots, but it was good enough. You go with the paranoia. This is an in-your-face composition. Fight face first with the Jet, with Reyna, and it's good enough here for Sentinels on the attacker side. And speaking about the attacker side, that's where they start now, with a couple of frenzies once again in this meta, ever since the last patch, and they're looking to go and play contact towards this B site, where there's only one player in the opposition here for Immortals.
Sick just keeps showing us how versatile his play is, as now he's gone over to Sova. The guy is just playing every possible role and agent throughout a series. It's truly impressive. There'll be a B-side plant where Immortals is trying to retake, but the damage is being dealt early on by Sentinels. A 4-on-3 with the Jet currently low on HP. The heal was utilized on the Sage already, so they won't be able to top off that Jet player. Ooh. And that's now resulted in the death of Dapper and Shazam. Another one coming in for Immortals. Very quickly, that turned around. A great retake from IMT to get back onto this site and kick off this 3rd map with a pistol round win.
You saw what they were trying to do in the post plan too for Sentinels. The Owl drone that came out from Sick on the short side of green was looking between yellow and the spike plan just to see if anybody was going to try to at least tap the spike. But from Immortal's side, they actually pushed everybody towards yellow. So as you're trying to swing behind the Allen drone and peek towards the area, you take the advantage for Immortals to swing back on the long side of green and get those couple of kills. Even the Paranoia wasn't that effective at all versus Immortals at the yellow side that was thrown from Zombs. And in the end, it's just Immortals with the Frenzies. But speaking about the Frenzies, long range, you saw that kill from Sick from green all the way to Snowman? How the hell do you connect those, man? I even can't do it. Probably that's why I'm flat.
On a good day. Sinatra, the tip of the spear into the A site, taking out an alarm bot that was waiting around the corner with the stinger. JC standing up top, trying to squeeze bullets on the edge of that dark cover as he can spot the players on the other side. But it's Sinatra to spill blood first. They've got site control, and there's still so many players here. So yeah, they're on site, but they haven't really fully controlled it. They've just kind of made it there. There's a nice leer coming in from Sinatra, who dissipates, disappears, and gets back into safety. It's now down to the last player, Gangsta, around the corner. Well played in the brawl on the site, and again, Sentinels does what they've done previously. They lose the pistol, but they fire back with a force buy, and they upset the economic flow, the confidence, and the momentum for Immortals.
I just love how they play the A side for Sentinel so far on these takes. It's always Sinatra taking the left side of the maze, trying to gain control towards screens. If there's any type of opposition, he usually falls back and then jumps onto tube, goes on the top of the maze boxes, and he's going to be a turret looking at the rotations towards the spawn side. While he does that, though, once Sentinels takes control of the A side, Sick always puts the wall towards the back side of A, which means now anybody holding towards truck becomes like an aim battle where they have the advantage towards just watching heaven. They don't have to focus towards spawn, and when people are flushing through on the defender side rotate in the front of map, then Sinatra's already on the top of the A tower on the A site and is just mowing everybody down. So the setup is great. There you go. He's back in his tower again. It's actually deciding to push through with so much confidence inside the spawn. Dapper, meanwhile, though, off a self-boost, it seems like probably with this wall. He looks for a couple of kills, and it just pinch and attack and just melts all the defense. That was it looked like it was maybe a force buy for the Immortals, but we only have a shorty for Chemicals in the end.
Well, you've got him up here on this little ledge, trying to hide around the corner, hoping that someone is foolish enough to wander into this trap. Now, there might be someone that goes this direction, but he also might get flanked in a moment. We do have some movement coming in from Shazam, but he's going to go the wrong way. There's the tailwind to try to get a better angle, and that did not work out well at all. So now Chemicals is in a tough spot, and Shazam flying through the sky with a classic says, I'll see what you were trying to do and raise it. And we've got Sentinels now winning 2 in a row, but the buy's going to come in from Immortals.
Yeah.
We'll get to see that op in play yet again, but again, it hasn't been so perfect for IMT, and these bonus rounds for Sentinels have been fantastic.
Yeah, so my apologies. They were on a full buy here, or a full save, sorry, for Immortals on that previous round, so they could bring the Operator into this one. Yes, Chemicals didn't look too good as a raise up towards the first two maps, Split and Bind, but he's very good here holding the A side usually on the map, but this time he's holding towards long B because they're using a lot of utilities to prevent these type of aggressive pushes on the A side. Knowing that Sentinels is going to be on a bonus round, they are going to be aggressive behind his Owl drone to push towards the A side. Now it's covered towards the map just to prevent Sinatra from moving forward. So he's forced to fall back towards Maze. But meanwhile, with this dark cover, everybody's pushing in.
Dapper again with the wall. This time it doesn't go underneath Dapper's feet, so he's not able to get the verticality necessary, but it's okay. Because again, they've gained site control and not much can be done here. Chemicals realizes it's time to get away again. Bonus round. After the res comes through, they've got 4 players up. This is a full buy from Immortals. This is a lot different looking than it was when we saw this team play this map just a few weeks ago, when the agent composition was a little bit different. They had the Sky play coming in for Sick, and at the time, many people questioned it because it didn't really feel like it was working out so well. So now we see again that juggle up that a lot of teams are doing coming into this map. Everyone's swapping roles, changing to things they haven't typically played in the past. But it's working out really nicely for Sentinels.
I'm definitely feeling bad for an observer that's currently watching this game because, like I said, when you're playing this in-your-face type of Valorant with Sentinels for the way that they're trading in this site, everybody's just dropping like flies, and the trades are immediate. You see, look at the amount of X's that we had there on that site. So I think 2 were down towards the 4. You can see it right now in these as the spike pulls up. Sorry. 2 of them died just by the truck side and 1 towards Raptor. So despite the wall going up and they go through the dark cover for Sentinels and they got caught off guard by the wall not blocking any of the rotations, you still had 1 or 2 players right behind Dapper just to trade those kills right away. And that's free upgraded ARs for Sentinels. I think they picked up like 2 of them on the 3 bodies that fell down. And their economy is just looking very good. Now it really has to come out to Chemicals. With that operator that he saved into this round, he has to make this work.
Shoutouts to our observers here with that incredible third-person glide along the belt there, making me feel like we're able to travel to land and I'm trying to pick up my luggage at the airport. We'll see a push coming through. Yeah, really. Someday soon, hopefully. We'll see a push coming through yet again on the A side, but this time it's actually going to be IMT who strikes first. They managed to slow down the push and pick up a couple of kills in the process. It's still not perfect as it is down to a 3-on-2, and Dappers has got a great angle, but instantaneously, Chemicals and JC Stanny strike, and it's another round on the board for IMT, so they're able to upset that flow. But the problem was, coming into that round, Sentinels had so much money. 9,000, 8,700, like 6,700, 7,600 on some of these players. Sentinels was stacking cheddar to the roof. So it's going to take a while for Immortals to chip through the credit pile that's built up for them.
At least you're happy for Immortals only losing 2 players in that previous round as well, trying to build the economy back, but it seems to be the answer right now for Immortals. Like I mentioned, Chemicals had to step up with that operator to hold down towards the site. This time he needs to be the player that rotates a lot, so they have to guess a lot where Sentinels is going to hit. And this time, he plays back towards B. Sentinels are like, you know what? We're going to hit A again. And this time, with the amount of rounds that they've won, they have the money to work with the ARs, as you just mentioned, Bach, and they're just going to try to push in right again as JC Stani is ADSing in the back of the truck, spots one on the top of pipes. But no contact. Still a lot of ultimates for both of these sides to be very aggressive.
Shock dart right on the position there of JC Stanny, who still manages to convert on at least one before the trade comes through. Didn't shift positions, held his ground. You got one watching the flank as well, just in case. It hasn't pushed through just yet. Now, I wonder if you're going to see the level of ult discipline for Sentinels here, looking specifically at Hunter's Fury as a way to neutralize lockdown like we saw in the series yesterday between LG and IMT, where Moose was holding on to that to prevent that ult from being a factor. The ball comes through, but it's not exactly perfect. They're able to sneak back behind it. The ult is utilized by Chemicals, but the knives not connecting. It's Shazam's op that greets him. Quick shots coming out from Shazam yet again, and a flick back onto the last. That's a 4K for Shazam as he puts Sentinels back on the board, making sure that lead continues to grow.
I used to love casting this guy's game in other shooters when he was just landing op shot after op shot after op shot. And it was just one of those superhero call out the Shazam comic book. And this time he's just landing every single shot beautifully. That snap that he has into the last one. As much as people like to discredit him in terms of his play style and, you know, as they call him out in his streams, he's still definitely like one of those players to look out for in this roster. As an IGL, no less. As an IGL for Sentinels, getting aces yesterday, continue to shoot and connect with the operator now. He's looking good here in this series.
Shazam is such an interesting beast for me because he's very flashy, but he seems to be really hit or miss. Like, either he is on one and he's feeling it, or he's less of a factor.
Yeah.
I'd say he's a little bit more consistent in Valorant than maybe he was during his CSGO career. And towards the tail end of his CSGO career as well, we saw him pretty proficient with a rifle as well. So that helped him kind of balance out that consistency. Hunter's Fury is going to be utilized here by Sick. That allows Dapper to get into this advanced position. Chemicals didn't even know it was coming. So not just like, I don't care how far away I am, I'm still going to shoulder this Odin and spray away. But that said, it's come down to 2. On each side, now just 1. It's Nature alone. And it looks like it's going to be the round going the way of Sentinels yet again. As we go full Technicolor. The game can't even comprehend what just occurred.
You know what? You're using the skin to your advantage. A glitch pop skin with the glitch pop finisher, going with the glitch screen to finish it off even more.
glitch pop screen. Good call.
So
You guys just didn't pay enough for that. Clearly, you guys don't have that skin. You got to upgrade it that far.
No, of course. I used all my pulse money for that, so thank you, NSG. But now 5-2, we're moving into a round where Immortals is going to be on a, seems to be a half buy. So yeah, getting enough so they can buy into the next. The dominance from Sentinels towards that B side, not giving a chance to get anything done, but we have a change a little bit, a change of pace. We're looking for a quick flank right now, and that's going to be Chemicals. As we get a res, they're still focused on the A side. They're trying to keep things alive, and it works out. Chemicals does get the classic kill on that flank, but he doesn't aggress even more. He's assigned to fall back just to try to keep Sentinels guessing, as that spike is still holding back. Meanwhile, that gives a chance for Immortals to push out towards Maze. That's 2 more kills. Now they finally open up to try to take down, and manage to take down, rather, the flanker. They could always rotate back to the B side.
So apparently you can still get on that rope even though it's inside the wall. So that looks a little awkward. But the spike will plant over on B. Actually, he's going to find a better position for it. Nature looking crisp with the aim on Dapper. 6 able to get around the corner. And taking an advanced position. You can see Gangsta back behind with the Odin, but not going to be a factor as Nature is lights out as Killjoy here on the retake. No need for lockdown. And no need for the teammate either who had the Odin coming through like Terminator. It'll be a 3rd round for IMT. Chemicals op, or actually Shazam's op, excuse me, should be down over towards the A site. Hence the delay on the spike defuse. You can see Nature running back to grab it. And now the defuse should continue and close out the round. A thrifty round win for Immortals. We've talked about this. Both teams have been pretty good at those, where we've seen Sentinels do it often after like a force buy that comes in after losing Pistol. We've seen Immortals find a couple of those in full buy rounds against Sentinels, but unfortunately they couldn't win the buy rounds afterwards.
And it was good how they got it, because that flank from Chemicals came without any Blade Storm. So he really just had classic fighting through. Ooh, that gave me a little bit of vertigo, but it's pretty nice. But yeah, very nice shot by Chemicals to try to hold Sentinels to their positions towards that the A nest, as I mentioned before. And now pushing forward from the A side, just great pinches in the end, leading it to a 2 versus 2. Easy upgrades right after that with the amount of rifles that were left on the ground. So good conversion. And they're going to try to continue to take the advantage of this towards the A side. And again, no answer for Sinatra yet. We're going to try to go for an immediate lockdown to prevent a plant. So that forces Shazam out of position. We're going to keep Chemicals on the B side just in case Sentinels wants to rotate back. And while this happens, though, a nice shot from JC Stani. That's the IGL down for Sentinels.
That's the position we've talked about. That ult can be so good there. And not having Hunter's Fury to take it out, they don't have any other options to try and eliminate that. No damage dealing ult that can get in there and prevent that ult from continuing. Fake port coming in from JC Stani. Spots Dapper trying to slide across slowly on the zipline. Sick, though, with a second shock dart will eliminate that player from that position. So it does come down to a 2-on-3. They're still leery of the flank play, but there isn't one. They actually have the capability to fall off on this and run towards that B site.
They could get Spike as well and teleport if they really want to, but there's still plenty of time to work with. I wonder if they're going to try to sell maybe a fake with Sick, maybe throwing something else if the recon dart was back to force the rotation out and guarantee the Spike plan. But they're going to work as a team instead. Like I said, still plenty of time. Turret's going to spot them. That's going to make the rotation from Chemicals towards the back of the site. Plan should come down. They'll give it away for Immortals. They're okay with that. Oh, maybe not. A little bit too slow in the end.
Yeah, good awareness from Chemicals to try to spot them on the cross through the gaps in the boxes. 5-4, a much closer affair for Immortals here on Icebox. We thought we would have seen this map played earlier in this series. We thought we also would have seen Ascent already played, which is the 5th map should we need it. An incredible shot coming out from JC Stani, and the fact that he was able to get a second one before dying to the shock dart as well, even a third. You see that shock dart come in there right at the tail end of that. That's what took him out of the round.
Yeah. Exactly. When we looked at the series, I was expecting definitely Icebox at this moment, but Ascent to be that first map being played for Immortals at that point, just to try to seal the deal in this map. This map is going to be the map that determines the series in the end, no matter what. It was going to be a 3-1 win for Immortals, or potentially now a 3-2 win potentially for Immortals if they're able to continue their stride on this map. Because we talked about it, or I mentioned how good Sentinels look on the attacker side. They won 10-2. Now there's only 3 rounds to go. They finally take the upper hand into this round, but it's already 5-4. JC Stani is still alive in the back of the truck, but Sinatra taking control of this A side heaven. He's able to take down JC Stani. Nature holding in the back of the site. Spike has now been planted. It's a 4 versus 2. Alarm bot triggers one out, and he's looking for the lurk kills, and he connects onto Sick.
Still got Chemicals trying to come through with an operator as well. Now Sinatra's in a great position, but it's not even necessary at that point. Shazam is on an absolute heater throughout the series. Shazam's been on one. Nice shot coming out from Chemicals as well. Getting away quickly, trying to dodge incoming damage, and likely to get caught here on the attempted cross. It'll be an upgrade for Shazam, who's going to tailwind in closer just to guarantee the op pick up 6 rounds for Sentinels. And now they've got the op back in the hands of Shazam. Despite some good shots from Chemicals, it's definitely been Shazam's series when you're looking at the op duel.
Definitely. Op duel, and even the way that he's moving forward with just the amount of quad kills that he's getting. This is 2 in this map alone on that first half. And can he continue with it here on how they're trying to work towards this A side? Probably. At this point, it's what answer do you have for Chemicals? It seems as though they're not really having those off battles in the end. Because the last kill that he just got in Chemicals was just a Vandal on a rotation, and then he picks up the operator right after. And Shut Up is trying to change things around, and that's a great way to counter it. You saw the recon dart that came out just to see if there was going to be more opposition coming through, but it's Sinatra that picks up another kill for Sentinels. And that's a weakened A site. Still difficult for the last 2 players, as Gangsta is only able to take down 1, unfortunately.
Oh, my goodness. Just dirty takes on this A site. Immortals, while they may have found some success at stopping it for a short period of time, it still feels like Sentinels has pretty strong control on that A site.
Yeah.
It's been difficult for them to try and play defense, often relying on one player to pop off and find multiple kills. It almost feels like they just have no stopping power. You've got Chemicals here with the op, who is able to pick off Sinatra, but now trying to run away and again save an opposite situation they've been in before. Dapper goes for the jiggle with the heal, no less, so the healing aura kind of glows out around the corner, gives away the position even further. Chemicals looking to just try and save this as much as possible. Sick is currently coming in from up top. The shot is still on the money from Chemicals, a quick reaction. Now the spike detonates and the round is lost, but this is a lot of money lost here for Sentinels coming into the last round. It's not going to affect them too much. They are going to have to gun juggle just a bit to get Dapper weapon into play.
And that's what I'm saying. The Chemical is actually able to land his shots with the operators we just saw. The flashy kills that he got when he was trying to save his operator before too, these were all on exit kills when he was just trying to save his weapon. They have to try to guess right and put him at the right place to try to get some stuff down here for the team. And this time they're actually giving it to JC Stani because they're low on economy. They have a Blade Storm. Chemicals does have a Judge instead, and you're going to potentially see them play very aggressively off this Owl Drone as they come from both sides. You see the recon darts pinging out a few as well. Let's see how it pans out for the last round of the first half.
Dueling ults coming out. As you heard the Hunter's Fury being utilized. I thought I heard a second pop, but it didn't seem like it. I didn't see any damage being dealt, so I don't know if that got canceled earlier or what that was. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Mistaking. I was mixing up the attacking and defending side. So, excuse me. Chemicals with the ult utilized. It's not going to produce the success that you would want. And again, it's down to one player. You know, you talk about Chemicals' inability to really be in the right position. It just feels like the reads have not been there. You know, they have not been able to figure out where Sentinels is going to go to put that player in a position to find success. But that player has been finding success all half long, and we'll see if that storyline continues after we come back from this halftime break. Stay tuned.
Got the money in the bank. Hit you with the bang. Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the money in the bank.
Hit you with the 808.
Hit you with the
Another map and another first half favoring Sentinels. Immortals struggling at times, and we sort of tapped into that at the tail end there, Vansili. Chemicals, who's sitting at the top of the scoreboard right now, 12-8. A lot of those kills were saves, trying to escape the damage that was incoming because they weren't putting him in the proper position to prevent what was coming. Sentinels kept them guessing on the defense, and as a result, it's not really his fault. He's playing across the map and then has to retake with an operator, and that happened time and time again. You can check that box off there, observers. We know we heard you talking about it before the series started. 8-4 in favor of Sentinels as we jump into the pistol.
And now things are going to get a little bit more difficult for Sentinels. As I mentioned before, when they played versus LG, you saw LG started to come back when Sentinels were starting to play on a defense. And again, I think it's due to the fact that they don't have enough denying abilities for any of these agents right now. When you don't have paint shells, when you don't have the boom bot to get information, it's really in your face Valorant. And if you have people like Shot Up, well, as I speak about it now, if he's able to step up, then that's going to be pretty much a brawl that could come into the favor of the attackers. But you know what? Sentinel seems to say they have different plans. They're just going to shut me up and say, look, we're going to shut down the B site. Only Nature left to go. And Zoms empties his clip to secure that last kill.
This composition just works so much better for Sentinels than what they used to use on this map. And you can see that playing out here in this game against Immortals. The pistol round was one of the few bright points in that first half for Immortals. And looking at the series in general, Immortals has done okay in those pistol rounds. It's the rounds after that have been abysmal. They've really struggled. And we'll see if maybe they can do what Sentinels has done to them pretty consistently, as we do have a Force Buy coming in here. We'll see if they're able to find that level of success they're hoping for. Dapper with a deep, slow orb coming out. There's the Owl drone going up over the top. We've seen this time and time again. There's another one, observers. You can check that one off again. That's 2 on the day for me. For anyone wondering, our observers like to keep track of how many times we say time and time again. That's 3 now. So,
for you.
For you too, you're going to say it now, because I'm putting it in your head that you're going to say it. It'll happen, watch. I normally don't, but now I feel like I have to. Let's see if I can squeeze in 10 more before this map ends.
Shot Up's already lurking across. We haven't really seen him, and that allows for him to get the surprise kill onto Sick, especially after the recon dart kind of showed that it was going to be a little bit safe there from the long way side. But Zoms, Dapper close range at the wall, lines up for the first, even with the second. Now the trade from Shot Up, but it's still a 1-man advantage for Sentinels. Thankfully, Zoms is low on HP, and we have a flank ourselves from Chemicals. Now he's stuck. A crossfire coming in from Orange and from Kitchen, leaving Shot Up on his own. So we mentioned him before. He has to step up right now. He's struggling a little bit into this map. I think he was at some point 7 and 10 or something like that. And now he's moving at 8 and 13. Make that 8 and 14 as he comes around the tube. Gets picked off by Shazam. And that seals the deal here for Sentinels, looking to run away with this second half. And they're looking much better from that pistol to the conversion round. Now, because of that force buy that came in for Immortals, there's a potential we could already see 11 for Sentinels.
You mentioned Shot Up struggling. Map 1 finished at the top of the scoreboard for Immortals, but at 13 and 3 with the scoreline, obviously the stats weren't great. 15 and 15 and 3.
Yeah.
285 ACS though, 159 ADR. It's not the worst stat line, but this is a player that nearly dropped 40 against other teammates, or other teams, excuse me. And then in map 2, 12 and 15 and 9, 135 ADR, 185 ACS. Shot Up just has kind of struggled, but so has the rest of the team, so it's not really all that surprising. The wall is going to go down. That allows the orb pickup. That's an ult already available. This is something that we've seen frequently from Sentinels. Great orb control and frequent ults. We saw, I think it was Sick, who had like back-to-back almost ults. It was like an ult, and then like 2 rounds later, he had the ult again. It's just ridiculous that it's happening at that level of frequency. It's down to 2 players remaining for Immortals. Sinatra is pushed up aggressively, waiting for them to come around the corner. going to even go to the ADS on the SMG. Has to worry about Shot Up, who's vertical. There's the heal coming through, but it should be over here as Shazam also ADS is the Bulldog. The burst fire, not a problem. 11 rounds to 4. They found it like you said they would.
And even as you mentioned, the orb control from Sick, you got to commend him on how they're actually, or sorry, from Dapper, you got to commend him on how he uses his game sense, knowing that they're going to be on an eco. He could push up by himself. The wall is not going to be enough for them to break it for Immortals should he put the wall up. So an easy orb to be picked up. And I mentioned with the stats for Shut Up, it's not necessarily him not necessarily turning up. It's really how they're able to shut him down. Shazam mentioned it before. It's like, okay, well, let's play the same type of gameplay that they do. We just do it better, and you already see it. Sinatra is the one that's playing the arena. He's on the top of the board, just the way that he's pushing. You saw that how he jumped it on top of the pipes on the A side, got the kill, dismissed away, and already made it a 2-man advantage for Sentinels. This round Shut Up is trying to change things over as he gets spotted from the kitchen. Comes out of it with a little bit of damage, but still a 5 versus 5. Still technically doable here for Immortals as they try to revert back to the A site.
Here comes the play towards A. In here, Empress utilized by Shot Up.
That's a
going up on top of the bin as well to try and find a better angle. And we'll clear the head off of Zam's shoulder. You've got Sinatra also using Empress with a way bigger gun. That's going to be the Odin having an insane fire rate. And it already produces success. Now a Lear going out as well to allow that thing to really open up. In the Empress duel, Shot Up comes out on top, quickly taken down in the exchange. It's now all up to Chemicals, who at least gets the first one. There's a smoke coming in. Can the spam come through where it needs to? No, not initially. 5 HP remaining. Sick there to just mop things up. Brush aside Chemicals. 12 rounds now for Sentinels. It feels like they haven't even broken a sweat in this series.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. And I thought it was going to happen when you start to see Immortals start to step up. Where I said it was a dangerous spot, I said it's a dangerous spot of how OP it is to have Shot Up on the top of that maze to look down towards the maze box, sorry, to look down towards screens, because he catches rotation from anybody coming from spawn, from boiler, and even from the back spawn side. He got a couple of kills with it, but Sentinels just look very good on his retakes as well. So as much as I said that they struggled versus LG yesterday on the defender side, they're looking so much better here in this game. And now it's already a map point, series point for Sentinels.
Feels like this series only just started.
Yeah.
Quick maps resulting in the score just quickly piling up for Sentinels. Chemicals. Oh, there's one around the corner. It's Sinatra, but he's got backup from Shazam as well. That's frustrating right now. If you're Chemicals, you're like, man, you gotta be kidding me. Just cannot catch a break. And neither can Immortals. Currently sitting at a 5-on-4. An ult being sent out. Hunter's Fury. Does it connect? Yes. So there's Dapper going down. Another pulse coming out. Not where it needs to be, but it's okay. Immortals, they may be staring down the barrel of a 12-4, but they're not giving up yet. They try and make their way out onto B. Zom's there with at least a shutdown onto Nature. Throw down the smoke as well. Shazam from up top, point blank range. Shazam finds one more. And now it's all up to JC Stanny, trying to get away with the spike in hand, going back to this A site. Will have time for a plant, but it's going to be a 1-on-3. And you've got From the Shadows available as well as Bladestorm. So even if he's able to secure this plant, they're going to be there really quickly, hot on his heels, trying to fight him to retake the site.
And that's why you say, like, Chemicals is probably telling himself, you got to be kidding me. It's just the way that Sentinels are able to play those trades. If somebody were to die from Chemicals at the beginning, he was going to get immediately traded by Shazam. But with that, a 3 versus 1, we'll see if JC Stani could clutch it.
In position, there's the dash to fly in. First one will be his, but it's not gonna be enough. Sentinels will take the 3rd map in the series, technically the 4th. It'll be a 3-1 victory for Sentinels here in the finals of the very first closed qualifier for North American VCT. Congratulations to them. They will be taking on the lion's share of the prize pool, and of course the bragging rights that goes alongside it.
Amazing. Congratulations to Sentinels. That's $20,000 for first place. Also being crowned the champions of the first software challengers. What this means now is they make it into the second stage of qualifiers for the challengers without having to go through the whole gauntlet of the open qualifiers next week. So for all of those that actually didn't qualify into the past week, it's back to the drawing board. But at least for this drawing board, for this series for Sentinels, my God, did it look one-sided for that team, and you got to commend them for that.
Here's the thing, too. When we first looked at this, I was like, oh, that's kind of silly. Like, they don't actually qualify for the event. Are you really getting that much, winning this event? Look at the teams that are playing in the next open qualifier. You've still got teams like TSM and 100 Thieves who didn't make it to the closed qualifier, didn't make it far enough to get to this point. So that's actually good. So, like, these teams are going to be fighting their way back through that open qualifier again next week. That one kicks off, I believe, on Thursday. So, scary open qualifier coming up, another closed qualifier that's going to be flooded with incredible talent, but you got to tip your hat to Immortals. Despite the fact that they lose, this team comes in with almost no playing experience as a full 5-man roster. We haven't seen anything from them. This is the first time we've seen them play with Chemicals and Nature, two players that were farmed out of the ranked system. And like you said, it's the first time we've seen them play anything since First Strike. And again, different roster, so it doesn't really even count. They did really well, all things considered. I do have slight concerns about consistency because today was very much underwhelming. I wanted to see a little bit more from them, and I worry over time that we'll start to see like that honeymoon phase end. Because initially I was like, oh man, I can totally see this going all 5 maps, really close games, but it didn't really stack up that way.
The thing is, for me, I have to think about it for the other end of the spectrum for Sentinels, though, because at some point, including myself, and others of our peers were like, well, it seems as though Sentinels in 2021, they've been figured out. They need a coach. Their strategies don't seem to work. They're too predictable. When you're playing for these trades, it seems as though it takes the upper hand for the up-and-coming teams, looking at LG, looking at Immortals, for example, and they just need to find something new. And did they find something new? Definitely did. They'd already changed their composition yesterday going into Icebox, winning versus LG, and showing a very one-sided Icebox into this map versus Immortals when they were the first team that picked out Icebox when this map first came out and looked okay on it. They look a lot better now. So I think the changes that Shazam put into the team for the agents and the way that they work together look very good. And you're starting to see Sentinels back on our conversations of like being the unstoppable team.
Well, let's take a look at the bracket as well so you can appreciate the runs from both of these teams. You'll notice again, and it's something we talked about at the top of show, Sentinels knocked out in the first round by LG 2-0. They've at times been their kryptonite starting out 2021, but we'll talk about the rematch in just a bit. On the flip side, you had Immortals beating XZ in a 3-map series, overtime being a part of that as well. They looked really good against Gen G, and then against LG, that first map was incredibly strong for IMT. They win, I think, 13-3 on Bind. LG takes map number 2. They go to map 3, and it almost goes to overtime. Here, though, that one on the board is just the round they got coming in from being the upper bracket winners. The fact that they couldn't get a single map, it's just frustrating to see because I wanted to see a little bit more. And you do go back to that map pool again, you go, man, what if? But let's take a look at the lower bracket as well, because we want to see how Sentinels got to this point and the fight in them to continue pushing to get to this finals. They had to take down Anbox 2-0. Gen G, who was knocked down 2-0 by Immortals, takes Sentinels to 3 maps, and then they face off against XZ, who's another team that's really on the rise before they pick up a big 2-0. And then that last game, Alex, that's the big one. Sentinels pick up the win. They finally get revenge over LG 2-1.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They looked very good. I mean, even versus Gen G, it's a brand new Gen G that we saw in this tournament, in this bracket. And even then, Sentinels versus Gen G, it could have been Gen G series. They almost won that 2-0. Yeah. It came down to, I think, a 13-11 scoreline for Sentinels on that second map. So that was a very nice fight there for Sentinels to survive that second map, win the series convincingly, and just blow back through the bracket going into today and winning this as well.
Well, we do have one of the players standing by currently from Sentinels. He's the up main for Sentinels who is shredding up Immortals in all 3 maps that we saw played today. It's none other than Shazam. Shazam, hop into frame. Join us here for the last part of the show. Congratulations on the big dub.
Thank you. Did it.
Dude, your hair's getting long. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I need a haircut badly.
We
Yeah,
all
you and me
do.
both.
That's why I'm wearing a hat. Shaz, man, congratulations in the series. First off, of course, I wanna talk and ask you about the dominant performance. What gave you that drive and Sentinels overall in this series to just show such a one-sided map of affairs in this series versus Immortals? What was that drive?
Yeah, I feel like we played with a lot more energy than the last time we played them in the seeding match. And they're definitely a good team. They deserve to be in the finals. But I feel like I definitely studied them a lot, even before I had a lot of notes. And I think they're one of the tactically weaker teams, not to like take away. They've got tons of skilled players. And I knew that if we played really slow, we could sniff out how they're playing their setups and just pick them apart, pressure them and like info starve them on other bomb sites like we did on Split. And we're just going to be able to outplay them. And then Icebox, it might seem like we're kind of just brute forcing in the site. We are, but there's kind of like a thought process behind it. Like we are picking agents that enable us to do that instead of defaulting. We kind of transgressed a bit before in Icebox and started trying to default and push people back. And we realized like this meta is not even working on this map. People are just not even rotating and fighting us. So we decided, okay, we're going to play this comp. We're just going to run in. We're going to use Sage's OP abilities to, you know, pressure them off and they can't peek. And I'm just going to sit there and wait for these people to swing on me.
Speaking of that agent composition on Icebox, you know, watching you guys play it previously, you had Sky played by, I believe it was by Sick.
Yep.
Are we not going to see Sky played as much anymore? Because this was like the only time that we saw Sick play that. And also, what is Sick's primary agent? Because I can't actually pick one because Sick plays like every agent in the game.
Yeah, we even debated running Sky again because this comp we didn't actually practice with. We decided to run this before the match because obviously our like more strategical attempt at Icebox was not working out for us. Sick is just I'm glad he's finally getting the recognition he deserves. Honestly, the recognition he deserved in CS2. He's by far one of the best players I've ever played with, and because he's not as flashy in moments, obviously the clutches and stuff, I feel like people don't recognize all the different things that he can do.
And just to go back to your whole run here as the Sentinels, Shazam, any teams that surprised you aside from maybe the upsets that you've gotten against LG at the beginning and that rivalry that you have against them?
Yeah, I think LG is a super strong team. They definitely gave us a lot of struggle in the lower bracket final too. I feel like that felt like more of a grand final for us because, you know, they beat us the previous 2 times, and I like respect those players. I think they're really talented. XZ as well. They played us really close. I can understand their thought process. They had a lot of creative stuff too. Like I can really respect that when a team puts in the effort to like come up with these smaller details. And so like I mean, teams are just getting better. Like it's on us to like readjust our setups, our comps, just reimagine the way we play the game, and like the game's constantly changing and we have to change with it.
For sure. Especially with new agents, new maps always coming out as well throughout the year. But I think the overarching question for me too is, in your point of view, what's NA Valorant like versus the world once we get this final stage? Is it going to be Sentinels at the top? Is it going to be G2 at the top? What do we have more in NA that EU doesn't have, or even looking at the other regions?
Yeah, it's tough to say. You know, people love this region conversation, but until we play each other, it's impossible to see how things match up. Like, you know, it's all about matchups. Even teams within NA, they have different play styles. Some teams might beat certain teams and lose to other teams. Like, we always had a difficult time versus Gen G, and they had like these heavy hitting site strats, and we had to adjust our play style to that. But I see discussion about like, you know, G2, people say they like a puggy style. I don't think it's a puggy style. I think that's like downplaying what their approach to the map. It's not puggy just because it's not a set strat where this ability's here, this ability's there, and it just looks nice. Doesn't mean they're not thinking about the approach to the map strategically. Like they're still approaching map control. They're still approaching the way they hit a site, like applying utility. So I feel like people need to start understanding like this game's all about adapting and adjusting and applying your abilities when needed. You know, you have limited utility and people switch up how they play constantly.
It's always like an underhanded dig to be like, oh, it's kind of puggy. That's like being like, oh, you guys just kind of run around and don't know what you're doing and you just rely on individual skill. It's like a nice way of saying you suck. Looking at the agent pool on that last map, this will be our last question before we let you go. Sinatra playing as Reyna. I personally really liked watching Sinatra playing Reyna. Will we see Reyna come out more for Sinatra moving forward? Is that something that maybe will take the place of Phoenix potentially?
Honestly, like we were scrimming bind before, and we were actually having him on Reyna, and he was farming on bind as well, like in the same fashion. So maybe we can experiment with it. I think it's a pretty busted character, but I think certain playstyles, like with the character, can be a little inconsistent. But the way we kind of just stuck together and let him take space for us, you can make it work.
All right. Well, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience at home? Maybe any friends or family that are watching before we let you go?
I'll just shout out to all the fans. Thanks for supporting us. We're continuing to try to do our best and qualify to the end of the stages.
Well, congratulations again. Yeah, seriously. Congratulations again. You guys look fantastic today. We'll go ahead and let you go. That's going to wrap things up here for the show. We'll take a couple of looks at the bracket one more time. Actually, no, we already did, so we don't even need to. We're done. We're done. This day ended so much earlier than I think you and I may have anticipated, but definitely want to do one thing before we go. Got to shout out our friends over here at HyperX for helping make a lot of this possible. HyperX obviously providing some insane peripherals that many of us use consistently throughout our gaming careers, or lack thereof if you're looking at me and Vance Silly. Want to specifically shout them out for the HyperX Cloud 2 wireless. Legendary comfort goes wireless with them. Built to be ultra comfortable and wonderful with amazing sound. It's no wonder that it's become the preferred gaming headset for millions of gamers. If you don't have one, you should go out and pick up a pair for yourself. Wireless is something that I wish I could get back to, tethered down by this long umbilical cord that connects back to my PC and feeds my mic and audio. Alex, man, thank you so much for joining me on broadcast. As always, it was another fun day of casting for you and I. Anything you'd like to say before we throw things to a close?
Had a blast as usual, Buck. Thank you so much, and thank you, NSG, of course, for having me on this broadcast and everything you guys are doing behind the scenes. You guys are the effing best. I usually have a hard time containing myself when I'm hyped up, so I'm happy I was able to censor that. But make sure you guys stay tuned, man. I mean, we have the open qualifiers for stage number 2 that's starting on next Thursday. So I'm pretty sure pay attention to those streams that are come out, POVs, watch parties, whatever it is. And then just 2 weeks after that, it's going to be Challenger stage number 2. So we got plenty of Valorant coming up, and I'm here for it. I love it.
Yeah, this is seriously just the tip of the iceberg for NA Valorant and the VCT series. Like he said, we've got more coming up next week with the open qualifiers. If you haven't signed up, you should try, assuming there's spots left. But if not, there's even one more after that. You could be playing against Sentinels in the finals. That's the beauty of the system that's been designed. Guys, thank you so much for watching and for all the support. And we'll see you next week for the open qualifiers.
See you. Thank you.